Do you believe in ghosts? This is the episode for you. Welcome to another episode of Mostly Superheroes, the podcast. This one is a special interview for you. Welcome to the studio, Franki Cambeletta. Franki hosts podcasts The Lost Boys of Hannibal and The Haunted Garage, and he also has a brand new radio show coming up on 101.9 FM. Franki is a researcher, a podcaster, a radio show host. He has spent a lot of his career researching history of folks like the Lemp family in St. Louis, also covering the gambit from supernatural, paranormal things, demons, witches, conspiracy theories, religion. Also, how does that connect to superheroes? We cover it all and a lot more. Lots of topics to get into with Franki. Be sure to follow The Haunted Garage and listen to Franki as they dive into these topics even deeper and get to know him and all the fun stuff in this episode with the Giggler, Sam the Sleeper, and your host, Logan. Enjoy the show. Listen to Franki for more. Definitely do your own research on some of these topics. We open up a lot of doors and pull on a lot of threads. Check the episode description for links for the stuff we did talk about, and enjoy the show.
This stuff that I'm into it's deep, man. It
Bro.
runs very. We're on the surface. We're on the candy coat. We go deep sometimes, but we don't really release those episodes because people get freaked out when we don't, because it's, for us it's real.
Mm-hmm.
Like, magic isn't fake to us. Demons aren't fake to us. These things exist, and that is where people kind of have the disconnect.
The Haunted Garage podcast,
Mm-hmm.
The Lost Boys of Hannibal podcast, and you're newly on a new talk show.
I am
101.9.
101.9, 94.1. Yep.
And the show is...
It's actually Haunted Garage. It's the Haunted Hour.
What?
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
podcast radio show. Holy shit.
It's a conservative radio station, so they do enough politicking, and the guys that own it, Jeff Allen and Joe Rush, are legends. These guys produced Dave Glover. These guys have been around a long time. And they wanted a new voice in St. Louis that had the conservative side. We said that our ideology aligns more red than blue, but we tend to not get political on our podcast because we just want to really talk about something that, it's everywhere now. And it's just like, it's upsetting, it's sickening. Everybody's politicking now. So it's persona politics up the wazoo. And we wanted to give them a break, and they loved the idea of kind of doing something that was kind of off the rails, that had nothing to do with politics. It had nothing to do with,
Nice.
where people stood or not. And so that's kind
we're,
of what we're sticking to.
We're a variety show, so that's great.
Yeah.
We like that variety.
Yeah, you need it. You need to have, we forgot how to have opinions, and then still like the person after. We forgot that. And I think I'm 46, so my generation was just I love my generation. I think that we hear that a lot, right? The Gen Xers are just so like cadre, and it is true. Like, we know how to work on our cars, and we don't really buy stuff that we can't fix, and it's just kind of these weird things. But we also are on that split where we kind of came into technology, so we're dangerous, right? Most people that own the software companies are Gen Xers, so we're the ones like, hey, you know what we should do?
Yep.
And then we destroy the world. so basically what happens.
Repeat.
Exactly. So it's just it's interesting to see what's out there. So when we got the radio show, it was really cool. It was exciting, and it's the first time that we've done stuff where you can't curse and you can't use certain, because you have FCC now.
Oh, you're in the FCC now. It's like a radio style limitations.
Yeah,
Oh boy. Okay.
So it's like, we got to be careful. Like,
I didn't think about that.
we opened with one of the best jokes, and I had to cut it just because I was making fun of the radio station.
Oh,
Dude.
no, that's always good.
The thought of
That's
something getting
funny.
cut.
Dude, come on,
I
right?
appreciate that kind of humor.
Yeah.
What was it?
like,
Say it again.
Well, I opened up and I was like, all right, guys, 94.1, here's a paranormal hour. We're only talking about conservative ghosts, however, so if you're looking for Democrat ghosts, not this show. And it was perfect. And they're like, you can't do that. I'm like, oh, my
Really? Oh, my God. I wouldn't be on radio very long.
Yeah.
That was it. You're not getting cut from this, I promise. That's staying.
So, yeah, it was pretty funny. It's like, we're only covering Abraham Lincoln, none of the Democrat presidents. And it's like, so it was just, me and Jeremy are kind of like that. We have that. We've known each other forever now. So it's my first friend in Missouri, which was kind of cool because I'm from Miami.
Oh,
and my longest friend, right, except for my friend Jess. And then, of course, my fiance Bailey is like my best friend too. So that's the one that buys you gifts and stuff. So
give us the you just came on a podcast you've never been on. The three of us are all meeting for the first time today. That authenticity, I want it to be real. Your road to these shows, like I think I want to land on the haunted garage.
Sure.
And I want to spend like some time there. And you've sent us like a list of stuff to get into.
Absolutely.
This is the paranormal episode. We've all listened to some episodes. I've been getting into the spirit a little bit, so I'm excited to deep dive. So I want to go back to the beginning.
Yeah.
Who are you leading up to? Radio personality Franki Cambeletta. Like what you St. Louis. You said you were originally from Miami.
I am.
So what happened from Miami to St. Louis?
I had a kid with somebody that was from Missouri.
That'll
to be
do it.
completely transparent.
Yeah, sure.
And I always wanted to be a dad more than anything in my life, and I could not stay, right? So you have that big choice, and you're here, and like it didn't work out. And me and her mom get along great, and we learned to co-parent, which is very easy to do when you stop believing that the relationship is about you and it's about now your child. And if you can do that, then you can break that, and you can find the things that you found interesting about that person that were not into the romance, right? You kind of look at the person as the person that's going to raise your daughter. One of the most poetic things that Marshall Mathers or Eminem ever said wasn't from a song. He said that the biggest regret I have is ever talking smack about my daughter's mom, because I never thought that she would get old and listen to it. And that hurt him. So we never did that. We never fought around Sienna. We had our fights, trust me. Divorce and a child that's 1 year old is rough. But we never kind of did that. So when I got here, I was always into the paranormal. But that's what led me here in 2011 when my daughter was born. So I've been here since 2011, and it was tough. It's not – I had lived in Vegas before. I had a stint in Pittsburgh, and then from Miami. So – it's a tough city to break into. It really is. There's a lot of people that went to high school together. And
sure.
wherever you lie with that, it felt like classism when I was first here. Because I laughed. I'm like, what do you mean? I don't remember when I was in high school, dude. Like, it didn't – Miami.
Why does that
bro.
matter?
Like, and my high school was terribly named. It was American.
Yeah,
it's American High.
And you'd be
What does
thinking
that
like,
mean?
and you'd be thinking like St. Louis. We're right here next to Chicago. I lived in Chicago. I even lived in Lincoln, Nebraska for a minute. Like these all become like kind of like transplant cities.
Yes.
You would think that like St. Louis is like a transplant city, but then it's kind of like I don't know. I think it's like a 60-40 split, right?
Right.
You got like the 60% high school crowd, maybe a 40% now. You see a lot more variety now, but probably tough to break into.
Yeah.
From a lot of business, media, everything.
Well, people don't trust you too. Is like the having the ground, right? Having the higher ground in cities that are small. St. Louis reminded me a lot of Pittsburgh. It was incestuous. They had people. There was a propinquitous effect, if you guys understand that.
Explain it as if we didn't.
Okay.
But I totally get what that means.
Okay, awesome.
Like I can kind of infer,
Sure.
It's
propinquity, it's proximity, right?
And and you're seeing a lot of the same things over and over. It's packed. It's full. The kitchen is full of cooks, as they say.
Right. The people you're going to marry are the people you grew up around, right? Whether you knew them as a child or not. Right?
Yeah, that's true.
People you're going to work for, the companies you saw growing up. So that's propinquitous. Today, we live in a society that's a little bit different, right? We are starting to go outside the bounds. This is what I believe is the deterioration of actual relationships, is that people don't want to work through relationships, right? Because they have the option of going on Bumble in 2 seconds or Tinder, when 42.7% of dating apps actually are married people. So when you put it in perspective, like, where have we lost ground? Where have we lost our, ability to back in the day they were stuck in marriage. I don't know that that's true. I think that they worked on it. And I think that's what people don't do. You're not always going to see eye to eye. I know this, right? I'm 3 times in, so I'm the ringer. So this time around, it's like, I'm going to come home and clear the plates out of the kitchen. I'm going to clean the dishwasher and get that out. And then I'm going to start laundry, clean my counters off, make sure, my dog is situated and good. And then I'm going to go downstairs and do my podcast and write some shows, right? I'm not just going to come home and write the shows, right? I'm going to
have a balance.
Right. I got to, when the fiance comes home, you don't want to be like, oh God, why didn't you do this, right?
Yeah.
And there starts an argument, right? So,
Tend your garden, all the communication,
Right.
all that stuff.
Right.
That some of those cliches are like completely true. Like
yes.
marriage is work. Like it is work. Like
It
it doesn't matter.
is.
Like I can tell you, it's finding I found my soulmate. Didn't want it, I got it.
Same.
And in 4.5 years now, you living with somebody. I didn't want to live with anybody.
Mm-hmm.
It's a funny. I talk about like that humor. There's a humor side of it of like, man, I didn't ask for any of this, and we joke about it too. Be like, but wouldn't trade it for anything. Truly, that is how I feel. It's like it's special.
Sure.
But at the same time, it takes work. Like I can notice. Well, I know I can notice when I'm being selfish.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I can be like, oh shoot, I skipped 1, 2. And I went straight to 3. You can't go to 3 before you do like 1. Like you said, just tend into it.
Yeah, you guys, and two, like I think that it's supposed to be about paranormal, but it's crazy. But
We're leading there. We always land where we need to.
Yeah, but I think that you made a lot of very viable and good points, because I think that what we're not doing is understanding that, when you're a hobbyist like me. You got your comic books. You're the title of the show is actually what attracted to me to doing it. I actually like conceptual stuff, like Almost Superheroes is great because I'm religious. Right?
Mostly.
That's right. Sorry,
Hey, almost right though.
almost right.
That's the next.
That's the
podcast.
most common.
yeah,
That's the most common.
Are we about to start a
mistake
podcast?
people make?
Well, I know it was mostly I confused.
It is.
It was dyslexic because what I was going to say is it's almost like saints, right? So saints are mostly super heroes. Right, that's what the Catholic religion that I am, we believe in that. But a lot of people think, well, you pray to saints, but that's never been the case, right? It's our saints are our superheroes. They're stories of faith. So if I'm lost, I read. If I'm desperate, if I'm going to go to St. Anthony, I'm going to see what his story was. Why is he the one that helps us get found, right? That's what those are for. They're just stories of faith. They encourage us to get strong. So mostly superheroes, almost saints, right? So it's like, it's the same thing for us. They were our type of kind of mostly superheroes, right? They were human. They died. They weren't immortal, but they did some really cool things. And that was actually the path that when I tell most people, it's like, oh yeah, there was a Ouija board experience when I was a kid. But when I'm on podcast, I like to be super transparent and real with people, because I think that's what makes this show great, right? You want people to be open about it. And so for me, it was the religious track that got me into the paranormal. It was trying to understand that, why are biblical texts still around? Why is Greek mythology? Like, why don't we still believe in Zeus? Like, what happened to Thoth and the Emerald Tablets in Egypt? When you look at stuff like that and you start going back, you start realizing, well, maybe it's been that way the whole time. Maybe Greek mythology was a thing, and maybe it still is. Maybe there is a Kraken.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the Egyptians got it wrong, but at one point, some believe they actually killed a god. And that's what happened.
Dude, you are good at finding that transcend. Like you find that middle line of like,
That
how do you
thread
break
that connects.
that simple thread that connects mostly superheroes through religion to the paranormal. I'm also you're tapping into my program too, because the origin of superheroes is something that's on our list to get into and do maybe a series on, even if it's like parts.
Oh, yeah.
And like really get into some of this. So sounds like you might be someone we might need to tap. You sound way knowledgeable off the cuff, just rolling in off the street with
Off the
that.
street, yeah. Well, you have Unbreakable, right? M. Night Shyamalan.
Oh, hell yeah.
Really tapped
Bruce
into
Willis.
Yes.
Samuel L.
and he tapped
Jackson.
into something there.
Yeah, the trilogy.
Yes. And it was like, these people, we do have those people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a bridge that just went down.
Oh my God, we haven't even talked about it on the show at all.
And you got 2 people that survived it.
What city again?
This was Baltimore.
Baltimore.
Two survived.
2 survived.
And a lot of people, 6 people were trapped.
8 in total went down.
Barge hits the thing.
Yes. Yeah, so it's a very strange conspiracy theory, too. The conspiracy theory is already out.
Go ahead.
It's Singapore. The owners of the ship are in town. They're in D.C. There is a black box, and we don't call them captains. So my family, just so you guys have some pure edification, I'm 100% Italian. Half of the side of Italian that was good, and the other half was not so good. So we had access to ports. And a lot of my cousins and uncles that are Union actually were piloting those ships. And I remember some old retirees were saying it, and my mom was telling me about this, but there's always 2 pilots on that ship. Always. You always have to have 2 pilots. And these guys are going under extreme training to cruise those things. That bridge is the most dangerous for that ship. It's the most narrowest bridge of any in the United States. So to actually leave port 20 minutes, be tugged out for your power to die and go and crash, and the thing falls like a deck of cards, right?
It did. It looked like it just knocked it, and it just went do.
Right. So
I can see of course there are conspiracy theories. My brain's immediately like, what happened here for real?
well, there's a conspiracy that's leaked right now that's pretty interesting that I was following up on is the CEO and chairman of the board of that not cruise ship, but the actual freighter, drowned in her car last month. She is the sister-in-law to Mitch McConnell.
Okay.
So it's just like, it's too much coincidence, right? It comes back to the superhero thing, right? Like
Something's there.
something's there. There's something very strange that pattern. But then in the same week, P. Diddy's child trafficking.
What in the world? That was crazy too. They're raiding his house.
We just say
Send the freighter.
news 1 and 2 of the week. We got right here.
We do, yeah. We're bringing it. I'm glad too, because those are like the 2 craziest stories I've seen in like a couple years, like since COVID.
Yeah, exactly. And they align with each other, right? They're trying to like, okay, how do we get rid of this mess? Let's just send the FBI out to grade him.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the funny thing. Everybody's like, yeah, get him. And I'm like, they're not going to get him. It's not P. Diddy they want. It's what P. Diddy has on what they did.
That makes sense.
That's why they're raiding him.
He's under under attack.
Exactly.
For something.
Yeah, he's definitely involved, but it's who was involved with him, that is scary. Cat Williams made a great prediction on Shay Shay's show, that the great prediction, right? It's that things are going to be revealed, and he quoted Luke. Luke is that saying in Luke is the scariest of all passages in the Bible, unless you go into Ecclesiastes and you go into King Solomon. King Solomon was pretty direct and very scary king. And his book, Ecclesiastes, if you've never read it, you should, because it's the words of a king, and he opens with meaningless, meaningless, meaningless. It's all meaningless. And this is after 1,000 years and 100,000 wives. But he's telling us something that's more real, more abstract than we know. And this is where demonology is born, right? It's born from King Solomon. It's the lesser key of Solomon. That's what it's known as, the 72 demons. And these are the fallen, which the Bible took out. We took this out. The Greeks were like, maybe you should leave it in. We shouldn't let people know that we could control these things, right? And that's what it was, right? So when you look at how it all backs out into these great predictions of what's happening now, in that Luke verse, all things will be revealed, even the ones you hide. Everything you hid will be revealed. And that is scary. The last 10 years, that's what we've been seeing. And they've been, whoever this dark government is, and it's both sides. You can't really choose a side here, guy. It's all of them. And it's how much were they involved and what have they done? And the guy that basically proved the existence of aliens, killed. The guy that basically invented the car that can run on water, mysteriously disappeared. The guy that cured cancer, died. The guy that cured dementia, died. The guy that understood that ghosts were real, that he could contact them, that demons were real, was also killed. He's also named after a car today. His name was Tesla. They killed him. And his death is one of the most mysterious ones, right? You just die.
Dude.
Just found in an apartment, broke, when J.P. Morgan was the one that funded you. What? So
hurry up and plug your podcast. Like, what podcast? You're scratching like so many itches like on that journey, and like I'm just getting to know you. This is like some epic conspiracy stuff.
Yeah,
and I am into it.
Yeah.
You get into this stuff. You research and
we
stuff.
do.
Or what show are you talking about this kind of stuff on?
Yeah. So the podcast kind of. We haven't really gotten to, like I said, our podcast is very sugar-coated, right? We kind of be funny. We're talking about cars and haunted cars, and we're trying to do all these things. But like me and Jeremy were like, man, people should really know like what our feelings are, what we really believe behind this stuff. Because what's happening on TV and, what ghost-related shows are, it's like such BS.
Should we talk about a couple of them to like lead in to the Haunted Garage?
Yeah.
A personal favorite of mine, TV show, Supernatural.
Supernatural.
with the
yes.
Winchesters.
Absolutely.
Baby, I believe it's a 67 Impala.
66.
66, thank you. I wrote it
Four-door.
down. All right, yes, 4-door, of course.
Yeah.
This is a great...
Bullet, but you know about the bullet taillights.
Dude, you're familiar.
Yes.
I mean,
love the car.
Yes, you guys got... I mean, what's the car on your Haunted Garage poster?
We have a 71 Nova.
Hell yeah, dude.
And we have a 69 Chevelle. We have a 66 Mustang.
Very nice.
We
Very
have
nice.
a bunch.
When
Yeah,
cars
there
used
you
to be cool.
Yeah. That
And-
one's actually in St. Louis right now, getting painted by my buddy Darius. Whenever you want to finish that'd be wonderful.
You're waiting on it?
Yeah, he's painting his car now. I'm like, what are you doing?
He's like
Can you
sitting-
finish this?
He's like texting you pics. He's like,
Yeah.
look, my car's
Look
painted.
at this, dude. Look at how awesome this is. I'm getting to use the booth. Right. Yeah, you sprayed mine in the backyard with a sprinkler. Like, come on, bro.
That's a slick-looking car, dude.
Yeah.
All right,
that's awesome.
a classic, Christine, Stephen King.
Yes.
I think you had a tidbit about this one?
Yeah, Golden Eagle actually is the original one.
Okay.
Right. So the original story. So Stephen King has actually drawn a lot of his stuff on truths. Right. So one of our first episodes we did for the podcast, well, actually the radio show was based on Gladys. Right. So Gladys is actually from Valley Park here in Missouri. And, you know, at the tender age of 16 years old, she loved to light fires and burn people alive.
You okay? Oh, okay. I thought I saw this and I literally panicked. I was
Yeah,
like,
I was
"This,
like-
here we go."
See, they're getting us already. We talked about conspiracy and we're just
Same over the edge.
right, exactly.
It's about to
Just
faint.
done. That was
Boeing.
it.
Sorry to
Boeing's-
ruin your train of thought.
Boeing's taking me out.
I know what happened with the door. Yeah, you didn't shut it. That's what happened. I mean, you know. So very easy solved there. But yeah, so Christine was an interesting book, right? He gets it wrong, right? The Plymouth Fury never had a 4-door. In the book, it's a 4-door. And he's not like John, you know, Carpenter. Like Carpenter, every Carpenter movie has the best cars in it. But Stephen King did a really good job with Christine. There's a Camaro in there. There's a Charger in there. And then, of course, they have the ugliest car ever made, which is the 58 Plymouth Fury, which is just, oof. There's a lot going on with that car, man. I mean, it looked good in the movie, but then when you really look at that car, I got to actually see the actual car. My fiance took us to the really awesome like automotive museum in LA, which is right next to the Oscars. So you get to walk in there, and Christine's in the basement, it's in the vault, and yeah, she's there. It's really cool.
Very cool.
But the actual one is actually called the Golden Eagle. And the Golden Eagle was a firefighter's car. It was actually not a Plymouth Fury. It was a 330 Polara. So pretty fast car for the day, 4-door. It was a boat, pretty big car. You can get people in there, up to 6 people. So it was good for firefighting. It was actually good for ambulance driving. You know, back then you have to understand too, like we started getting more and more into what we call professional cars as time went on. But back then they were using the biggest car that would become these state cars. And so that just happened to do it. So for the fire department, the car was very angelic and it was helping and it was the fastest car ever. Somebody quoted it going to 200 miles an hour, which is impossible.
Yeah.
Impossible.
Not
You
happening.
just can't. No, you just can't. I mean, if you put turbos in it, yeah, if you get NOS, but you wouldn't have had that technology. And so when the police department then pick it up, and then every police officer that had the car operated in that squad car, and I believe there was 2 on file, both killed their families and themselves. So that's where the family asides start. And then the last one is a big true crime case. There's a kid that actually was in the car, was dared to touch the car. He touches the car, he kills his brother, the dog, and the whole family. And he's actually still in prison for that. He's still alive.
And this is a great teaser for the Haunted Garage.
Yes.
This is what you guys are doing.
This is what we talk about.
We'll be right back. What you eating? I'll tell you what I'm eating, fellas. Going back to the Gramophone in the Grove in St. Louis, Missouri. Surprise, surprise. Back again, our place in town. Been eating there. I mean, it's probably been 10 years, really.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They've been there for a minute.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember the original time going there was late night food.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what it was. It was like, oh, I'm out in the Grove, late night. Now it's, can I sneak a beer and a sandwich on a Wednesday at 2?
That's grown up.
And if there's music playing, you're talking about like the best Wednesday you've ever had.
Yeah.
Like, you're just kind of like, you kind of feel like you're f***ing off, you're taking a beat. And if I'm going, to the Gramophone, I'm going to pick up myself this time a Danimal. That's ham, turkey, roast beef, salami, bacon, white cheddar, lettuce, tomato, pickle, red onion, pepper, mayo, and avocado spread on sourdough. The avocado spread is what brings it on these sandwiches. I'm going to get a half of that. And, I mean, I never don't get the mac and cheese. And maybe that's like a sign that I should change it up because that's usually what I do in real life. And I would get, instead, the jalapeno popper soup. And I would dip my sandwich in it. And that's an epic time for me.
Wow.
That is a play.
Who wants to go next?
Wow.
I mean, if it's me,
Sam the Sleeper.
I struggle to just stray away from something I've just enjoyed, and it's the Mississippi Nightclub.
If it ain't
the
broke.
Mississippi Nights Club. Sorry,
If it ain't broke.
it's literally loaded. It's turkey, roast beef, bacon, pepper jack, lettuce, tomato, red onion, pepper mayo, spicy red pepper spread. That's big for me. I'm a big spread
The
guy.
best part.
Just put a spread on it, and
Is
I'm
that-
probably sold.
Yep.
And then here's where the sandwich gets really crunch factor.
Here's the kicker.
Here's the kicker: Billy Goat kicker chips
On a baguette.
on the baguette.
You get it as it comes.
It's a texture
Don't change a thing.
bomb,
Yes.
texture and flavor bomb.
You getting a side or you get the full sandwich and that's it?
Oh, I always make the beautiful mistake of getting the mac and cheese
And
and
just-
being so full.
Feeling horrible.
Well, you said you go there on like Wednesdays at 2. My Wednesday just turns in slides right into Friday.
That's it. It's over.
It's over. It slides right into Friday.
Oh, God.
Fair share.
Creativity is off the charts at this place.
Giggler?
That's the hardest part with the menu. It's just there's so many sandwiches, and I've never had one that I didn't like. But this time, I think every time it's automatic mac and cheese. Every time. There's no, just anything, red hot riplets thrown on top and baked on there.
The proof's
is
in the pudding.
Unbelievable.
Or in the mac and cheese.
Yes.
They might have pudding. We don't know.
They should.
If they did, it would
It would be so good.
amazing
Yeah.
if they did. I have no doubts. And then I'm with Sam, Mississippi Nights Club. I'm either between that half the time, or if I'm feeling like a real fat boy and I want to have 2 half sandwiches and a mac and cheese on the side as well, I will get the Big Willie's meatball as well. That's just your standard meatball sandwich right there, and it is
But that's a
phenomenal.
classic. That's a classic.
Have you ever eaten at the Gramophone?
Absolutely.
Do you like it?
It's my favorite place for sandwiches.
Well, why don't you just tell us what you would get at the Gramophone?
So I like the Del Cortivo, which was a kid that used to work there.
Really?
That's awesome.
Nice. Epic name.
They still make it. I don't know if it's on the menu anymore, but
He doesn't work there anymore?
I don't think so.
It might be off menu.
I heard
That's
he went to
nice.
like Hawaii or something.
Solid choices, fellas. We're at the Gramophone. Go see us there in the Grove, St. Louis, Missouri. It's the spot. All right, back to the show. This is it. All right, total segue, right? Set yourself up now. What do you like? So we listened to some episodes. I listened to you got 2 out, right?
Yes.
2 out.
We have 18 total, but if you're listening to the most recent ones,
Yeah.
they're like 48 minutes long. They're pretty good.
Okay.
We did Paranormal 101, talked about all the different haunts and ghosts.
How'd you guys get to this? How did you get to the haunted garage? You had the love for the paranormal that brought you to the area you mentioned. So, I know you have some love for the paranormal around St. Louis.
Yes.
The Lemp family. I know
Yeah.
you've got some research invested in. But
10 years.
10 years.
In the Lemp family?
Yeah.
Or in general?
10 years in the Lemp family alone.
Holy cow.
We've been working on a documentary for 10 years. It comes out this year in November. Just waiting for a good start date. It's a very interesting film. It's a 3-part series, 40 minutes a pop, and it basically goes through the second suicide, which is Elsa Lemp. It actually takes place in Central West End at 13 Hortense Place.
Beautiful house.
It is. The whole row, actually.
Yeah.
The Hortense Drive is the most distinct and original slack of houses in the entire of St. Louis proximity. It's built in. It's an incredible. It's actually named after J.A. Goldman was the guy that he was a Jew, okay, and Jews weren't really allowed in certain locations. But Goldman had money, and he's like, all right, you don't want to include me somewhere? I'll build my own street, and he did. And he actually used a architectural firm that's still around today, and that's Hellmuth. Okay, so HLM or HLM, they're still around today, which is awesome. And the actual great grandson of Goldman is an architect, but he's a landscape architect, which is pretty cool. But him and another architect built the entire houses on 13 Hortense. On Hortense Drive, right? And so a lot of things happen on Hortense, right? There's a woman across the street from Elsa's house that's going to marry a president. Okay. There is down the street is where Lindbergh is going to walk into a house and he's going to ask for money, and that's going to be the Lamberts, right? Which Marion Lambert made all his money on Listerine, so not aviation. So these are all St. Louis things that, like we have Tums, we have Listerine, we have Energizer. So there's a lot of things about St. Louis that we just found doing the research. And that's when it got dark, but things got broad too. Like there's a lot of stuff that happened in St. Louis. It was the fourth city at one time. I mean, this was the fourth largest, fastest growing city because of the World's Fair, which nobody thought we would get, but we did. And that was, David Francis, who was the best mayor St. Louis ever had, aside from Joe Wingate, which is Holy Wingate. We'll get into that episode in a couple weeks. He's a really cool, interesting guy that actually is from Tennessee, went to University of Vanderbilt, came to St. Louis to clean up the crime, and he did. It was the only time that actually St. Louis was crime-free, and we hated that, so we got rid of him. But
So let's change that up.
Yeah, exactly. So you keep stumbling, right? You stumble upon the Lemps, and then you get more involved. And we all started because the first thing we do is we were led by an exorcist, right? So Father Gary Thomas, right? Everybody knows him because they made a film about him called The Wright. And I've interviewed him. I've spent time with him. And he kind of is the voice inside our heads. And one of the voices that he says is that the exorcist is the largest and biggest skeptic in the room. And that's how you have to approach demons and ghost hunting, right? Demon possession is very rare in America these days. Very rare. But was something going on that was malevolent with the Lemp family? No. Like the Lemps in general were actually really, really good people that had tragedy strike them. And for the last 10 years, we've written articles, we've done speaking engagement where we've tried to correct the history that's out there that's so bizarre to us. And we keep finding stuff that's so inaccurate. It's like somebody wrote it, this guy that does ghost tours of the Lemp Mansion wrote something that said that Adam Lemp, the father of William Lemp, the one that started the beer in 1839, killed himself in 1894. And it's like, you don't say those things when Shift and Haunted Garage is around, because we're the foremost authority on the Lemps, and we'll tell you, and then we'll send you the death certificate, which is what we did, because we have it. And in 1862, it was hard to get death certificates, but if you were rich, they did actually make a record of it. Everybody else was kind of put in a book, a potter's book. Mm-hmm. But Adam actually has a death certificate. He dies of disease of the liver. Shocking. He was a brewer. But he had to taste it, right? I mean, somebody had to be the taster.
Fair.
Get the job done.
Forever. So it's like, that eventually will hurt your liver, and especially the conditions back then. But it's that type of stuff that comes out. Oh, yeah, and Adam killed himself in 19... No, he didn't, actually. He died in 1862. William Lemp is probably one of the most notorious businessmen, had beautiful acumen. People loved him. He was super humble. And this is Elsa's father, right? So she's the baby of the family. And I have a daughter. So I understand like the love that you have. If you guys have kids, I don't know, but the love you have for your daughter is different from the love you have for your son, right? The son you're trying to make into a man, right? I mean, at least that's my thinking. You're trying to make him be strong and to protect and to be gentle when you have to be, and to be a raging lunatic when you have to be, right? To defend. Those are the things that I was brought up with my father, who I grew up with Italian. So everybody on the left side of my family is all, Philadelphian boxers. So we're tough. We're tough guys. So you learn those types of things. But with Elsa, I think he was just delighted to have this fun little big blue-eyed girl with blonde hair. And I think he loved her, and I think they were very close. And she would lose both her parents by the time she was 20. And so she's raised by her brothers essentially at that point, but she's given money because her dad dies, and he dies with $12 million. And if you did the inflation calculator today, that's a lot of money. But she gets an eighth of that, right? Because it's actually she gets a seventh. That's another story I won't go into, but she gets a seventh of that money, and she is now known as the $1 Million Girl. And her mom makes a stipulation. Her mom would die 2 years later, but William Lemp did not leave a will. Okay. In the state of Missouri, if you were married, it goes to your spouse. If you are not married, there's no common law. You don't get shit. Okay. Nothing. So If you're with somebody and you invest all that time in them and you don't get married, it doesn't matter. You're a friend, you're a tow service driver, you're a DoorDash guy. You're nobody, right? So, but they were married. And so in this particular case, he only leaves a note and he says, in my will, my wife, my loving wife, will know what to do with my children and my grandchildren. And so what she decides to do is she takes the split, there were 8 children originally. Frederick dies, which is one of the reasons that perpetuates William's death, which a lot of people say. But Frederick died in 1901, okay? And there's this other story that goes, I don't know how far you want to go into this, but the Lemp family's curation is so terribly backwards and wrong. Frederick was not taking over the brewery. And you will read that if you go online tonight or right now if you're listening, or you go online and you read about Frederick Lemp. Frederick Lemp was the eye and the fruit of his labors, and he was to take over the business. And that's not true. Billy was already in charge. Billy had already assumed that role. Billy's going to make Falstaff. It's going to be the most successful beer that ever came out of St. Louis. In fact, the Greasy Dicks buy it from him in 1919. So the thing about the Lemps is that Billy was, I think, the most malevolent of all of them. Billy had a Napoleon complex. I mean, we know this because we can read about it. We read about the divorce that happens between him and Lillian Hanlon, also known as the Lavender Lady. But with William, his father, very different cup of tea, completely. But he does lose Frederick. And Frederick, he did love Frederick. Frederick was, his son. And Frederick didn't look like the rest of the children. Frederick was dark-haired and dark-eyed. Beautiful dude, like tall, dark, and handsome. That was his description. He holds a mechanical engineering degree from Washington University. He was inventing beer equipment that had not been discovered yet.
Dude's hot stuff.
Yeah, dude. And he was a photographer. And so,
and of course.
Yeah. So I have a great picture of all the siblings together, and we kind of believe that Frederick actually took that picture.
Yeah.
But he gets very sick. He gets consumption. And he eventually goes to Colorado. And he gets cured. He's actually feeling better. Because a lot of times people say it's altitude. Back then, they try to find all these solves. Eventually, the doctors get to a point where you need saline. You need salt in your lungs. And this actually still is with cystic fibrosis, this is still a common thread. Most cystic fibrosis people suffering from it do live on the coastlines. The salt in the air does help, loosens up the fluids, and you're able to kind of get that stuff out of you. So whether it was cystic fibrosis, whether it was consumption, whether it was pneumonia, we don't really know. We just know that he dies after his parents come to visit him in Pasadena in 1928. So he's not taking over the brewery. He's sick and he's trying to heal. And this is this thing, Frederick, he's taking over the brewery, and that's why the brewery failed. No, the brewery doesn't fail because of that. Billy was in charge. Billy was in control, and he was leading a good ship, but it was a lot of weight to fall on him, and he needed more guidance from his father. But his father would lose his best friend, Colonel Frederick Pabst of Pabst Blue Ribbon, right? So this is actually the first beer dynasty. It's not Anheuser and Busch. We can get into that in a second. But the real first dynasty is Pabst Lemp. Okay, Hilda Lemp is going to marry Frederick Pabst's son, Gustav Pabst, and she's going to move to Milwaukee, and she's going to escape the crazy. She doesn't kill herself. She doesn't do anything off the Richter. In fact, without Hilda, you don't have a Pabst line right now. Pabst has a lot of their family reunions are huge, and one of that is because of the Gustav and the Pabst kids, and so she gets out of it very young and very early. But when you move back to the family of William and his friends and his followers, I mean, Frederick was one of his best friends of all time. Now, some people have claimed that their relationship was more than friends, that they had a unique, they called it something back in the day, enkindlement or something like that. They would write each other letters, and when you go to the Pabst Mansion in Milwaukee, which is the only one left on Millionaire's Row, it's a museum and it's beautiful, but it's very ornate. You walk in there and it's like, wow, this guy would have liked Versace. And so it's like, this is really ornate. And he has these big pictures of bearded men and Vikings and stuff. And it's like, you start to wonder. And then you go to his office and it's all fairy tales. And it's like, this is interesting. And there's hidden little drawers everywhere on the ceiling and stuff where he kept these notes from Lemp, and they would transfer these papers back and forth. So whether that's true or not, that story lines up. It tracks. But it also is, I think that when you're coming from a revolution, like in Germany, when you fight in the Civil War, which a lot of people don't mention, but William Lemp fought in the Civil War. He actually leaves SLU, okay, and then he's going to join the Union Army. He's going to fight in the Missouri 3rd Infantry. And I have a sick-ass picture of him by a huge cannon with the 3rd Infantry. So he's going to fight for about 2 years. He's going to come back, about a year and a half. He's on the muster roll, have all of that information. He comes back to the Western Brewery, which is what Adam named it. And he's going to basically take over when his dad dies. And this is another thing no one mentions, but actually his father left it to him and his cousin, Charles Brewer, who was Adam's sister, Annie. So that son is actually going to be bought out by William. So he's like, cousin, I love you, but I have a vision for this and you're not included in it. Here's $8,000. And $8,000 was a lot of money back then. So he takes it and runs. But the Brewers still are around. They still take a part in being part of that Lemp family. So when you start to curate the history, when you start to read everything, the ghost stories melt away. And then you start asking yourself, well, what is really haunted? What's haunted is the memory. It's the memories that are haunted. It's like nobody remembers these people for what they did for St. Louis. Like these guys built St. Louis on their own backs, right? From a German Revolution that failed. We had 45,000 migrants from Germany within a span of 10 to 20 years. And Lemp was one of those people that provided jobs for those people and made them beer brewers so they can go out and do the same thing. So Adolphus Busch and Lemp, once again, common misconception. They hated each other. They were rivals. Egan Ratz points this out. That's a lie. Complete lie. William and Adolphus were very close. They actually went to every beer conference around the world together. So it's just like, why are we lying about things that actually happened? Why are we trying to make more malevolency in a situation, in an idea that we don't need to? There are 3 suicides in that house, okay? That's true. You don't need to make up anything.
Mm-hmm. Right, there's enough drama already.
That doesn't happen.
Well,
You're saying the Lemp Mansion.
Yes.
And I'll tell you, man, that's I'll give it up for the rant because like you went A to Z. You went A to Z and you were having a dialogue with that history that you're so in touch with.
Yeah.
I'll be completely transparent. I'm not familiar, and it feels like Game of Thrones, like House of the Dragon.
It is.
Like with the Lemps, you know? And this is hyper local. I'm only vaguely in touch with like the Lemp family in terms of like I know them by reputation.
Yeah.
Yes.
So my brain goes to, you know, where does someone like me, like your people are learning on this podcast now, diehard people that are following you and this Lemp story, they just followed right along.
Mm-hmm.
Where do I go whenever I get done talking to you? Is this the kind of stuff that's in your documentary?
Yes, we're covering this in the documentary. We do talk about it on the podcast. We have actually a whole Lemp series coming on the radio show.
And this is the Haunted Garage. You'll be covering this type of stuff.
Yes, the Haunted Garage is all Lemp, all April.
Dude, thank you. You're basically giving us like a mini-sode of your
Yeah.
podcast right now.
I will say it's like if you go on the internet and you're just Wikipedia or any of the like, you're not going to find that kind of information. You're going to find the wrong information more often than not because I live down the street from Lemp Mansion.
Yeah.
And it's like, so I've been tuned into it before. I've heard the stories. And all that he said,
Never heard it, right?
never heard of it.
Yeah.
Or I heard, such a far cry from the actual truth.
Yeah.
Like you said, 3 suicides, you don't need to make anything up there.
Yeah.
It's all hocus pocus at this point. That people are just creating lore that maybe doesn't need to exist.
Yeah, and up until William died, I mean, he was revered. And there was a mourning that lasted 6 months with his employees. William wasn't the type of guy that looked at you as a number. He was the type of guy that wanted you to be more successful than he was. He was the person that lifted you up. He was the person that, I think that when you work in today's industry, it's like you don't meet a lot of people like that anymore. People like today are just like, how much more money can we bring in? How much less do we have to pay somebody? But back then it was more like, I want to help you. I want to build you up. And so when he died, it was a great mourning for like 6 months. And, Billy is left in this shadow. He's left in this shadow of all things crazy. His dad dies, and now his dad was the chairman of the Louisiana Exposition, so he's supposed to be the president of the World's Fair, where his buddy Adolphus Busch is allowed to sell his beer, but outside of the World's Fair, and only Lemp beer is inside. And Pabst, he brings the blue ribbon in. So there's this really cool stuff that's happening in St. Louis, right? And to put it in perspective about the beer wars, Adolphus Busch is 1 year old when William's father is brewing beer in St. Louis and creating the first German lager beer. Okay, so once again, we've created the German lager beer in St. Louis. That is the baseball pastime. It's Budweiser and a hot dog, right? That's the German lager beer. It's not Yuengling. Yuengling's the oldest brewery.
Yeah.
But it's not German lager beer, right? So we hold claim to that. We hold true to that. And so being excited about your city and loving your city helps cultivate a city that, we have our crime, but it cultivates different types of memories, right? And those are the memories we want to bring back.
That's great. I applaud you on it because, like, yeah, just like set the truth free too. You know, like no one wants to live in we don't want to live in la la land. You know, it's better to be I wish I was more in touch with our city's history, and having this dialogue feels like that door's opening up a little bit.
Oh, and
so
you have access. I mean, go to Skinker, go to the library right there, man. You can go to the probate court downtown.
you're talking about a service that people would pay a monthly subscription for.
Yeah.
I mean, we're on to something. Like, I mean, this is why this medium exists. Like, you know, you can do bite-sized podcast, or I like walking tours. I don't know if there's
oh yeah,
you know, you get some good walking tours. in the city.
If you want a good walking tour about the history of where you live, Nene Harris does tours there. She's the best.
Hell yeah.
In like off Cherokee or
Right,
Ben
yeah.
Park.
Yes.
Say
So
that
if you see
name
the,
again.
The big silver signs.
Yeah.
That's Nene Harris. Her signature's on the bottom. So
Oh.
she did all the history of all those homes. And she still does walking tours. Now, if you want crazy tours, Amanda Clark. And she works actually at the Missouri Museum. And she's going to give you a tour called Badass Babes. She's going to give you a tour. And these are all St. Louis women. She's going to give you a tour about cholera, the yellow, you know, when we had cholera
Yeah.
outbreaks here. They actually brought her in when they found the bodies by IKEA. She's like, yeah, that's definitely cholera. So, we were hiding bodies everywhere.
Cholera
Um,
expert.
That's actually really crazy. Did you know? I don't know how long you guys
Go
want
ahead.
to go, but
Go ahead.
do you know how crazy the Spanish flu was here? Have you guys heard the story of the railroad and why it's hidden?
All right, hold on. Does anybody need a break?
Bio break, anybody? Say in our corporate meeting.
Yeah, I'm gonna pee.
Okay, go ahead.
Put it in your back pocket. You're good.
I will. I'm
you guys
good, man. Yeah,
All right. You need any snack? There's some snacks.
I'm good, man. Thank you.
All right, I'll be right back. I'm still recording, so don't talk behind my back.
Yeah, that lime stuff's nuts.
It's intense.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
intense. The family is intense.
My only
Well, it's a
question
big
is,
family,
when
too,
can we
so-
buy tickets to this premiere?
We are actually sold out, but I
Really?
will get you guys on press passes. That's not a big deal.
Dang.
We've been sold out we were supposed to premiere March 20th, 2020.
Yeah, I remember. I was just listening to your episode earlier. So
Yeah.
it's High Point is the plan,
Yes.
right? Okay.
Yeah. So we were supposed to do it 100 years after her death. That was been so cool. But then COVID hit, and instead of getting beside ourselves, we decided, I don't like this film. Let's redo it, and we reshot everything. And
Wow.
we went down a rabbit hole. And we're like, we can get this out by the time COVID ends, right? And then, wouldn't you know, Hollywood decides to do all these strikes. So it's pencils down. So we can't use any of our guys. And our main director, our main source of truth, our writer for the script, who lives in LA and lived in LA his whole life, Jeff Bassetti, he's like, I can't do anything, Frankie. We can talk about it, but I can't write anything. And so we were delayed
So
again.
weird.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So we're finally getting to a point where we still have 3 interviews to shoot to kind of place them in the edit. And it's just when we see the film, it's kind of still going to be a little loose. We're going to have some, there's going to be some VFX in there that are going to get done as soon as the money starts making money. You know what I'm saying? The movie needs to start making money so we can add more money to it.
Yeah.
And then we'll add that stuff in before we do it. But Cinema St. Louis has just been great. And Bree over there is High Point hosted our horror festival last year. So it was really cool. We made really good connection. And Bree's just doing a wonderful job with Cinema St. Louis. She's just made it her own, and she's made it a destination where people want to care and be about film. And that's what it needed. It needed a good shakeup, and she's done that. And we're just happy that we're able to still talk to her and be a part of that scene, because there are incredible filmmakers in St. Louis that really need their voice heard too. And I just don't think that was what they were going for a couple years ago. So
Yeah.
it's pretty cool to see that.
That's a great
I'll listen in
location.
post, I guess.
That's a great location.
We didn't go that far down the rabbit
Did I
hole.
miss anything big
No.
that I need to know?
We stayed away from paranormal stuff.
All right, so time check. We could do another half hour.
Yeah.
Where do you want to spend your time? You had something in your back pocket. Springfield. Did you say Springfield?
Did I say Springfield?
What were you getting ready to talk about? Do you remember?
Well, we covered Lemps pretty decently.
Yeah.
Cholera.
Where do you want to spend your
Yeah.
time? Like where?
Cholera.
All we have
IKEA
left,
came
all
up.
we got to do on our list, and we'll do it at the very end before we wrap up, is we got a fan mail segment where we give away some prizes.
Awesome.
We could tie it to your podcast if you want to do
Sure.
something. We could do a giveaway or a team up
man,
or something.
If you guys need hats, hoodies, whatever, we can give some stuff away.
Okay, that's cool. We got What You Sharing. You bought some stuff at Apotheosis Comics, some comic books.
I love him. He was actually
Martin. You know Martin?
He was Martin. Martin was in politics. You know that?
Yeah,
Yes,
we
he was.
just
He
talked about
worked
it.
at the mayor's office.
Yeah, Lyda Cruson. He was one of the reps there. So I know Martin really well. We both work in politics. So
We'll be right back. Hey squad, Logan here from Mostly Superheroes, wanting to talk to you today about some real-life heroes. Team Jakey, headquartered here in St. Louis, Missouri. They're turning the tragedy of losing their beloved Jake Zeller into life-changing action. Not just by making a difference, but by saving lives. Team Jakey supports both the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention and Provident Behavioral Health here in St. Louis. Join us at their annual Gentleman Jake Memorial Cornhole Tournament. It's more than just a game. It's a community coming together to lift each other up with some of the world's best prizes. If you're feeling down or know someone who is, Team Jakey's here with a message of hope. Reach out by calling 988. You can also visit www.afsp.org or text TALK to 741-741. You're not alone, and there's always a way forward. Someone's waiting for your call or text message. Search for Team Jakey on Facebook and learn more at www.mostlysuperheroes.com/give. Every bit helps, and together, we can make a difference. All right, back to the show.
I mean, do you guys want to go down a dark path or?
Yeah, you had a pretty epic list of like talking
Yeah.
about kind of like
Black-eyed kids. I mean,
yeah. Here, actually, I have your full.
Werewolves are great. Ties into Saints.
And I know like you talked about like Daredevil. You already did like a superhero tie-in. That was already epic. But like it doesn't matter, dude. It's like whatever you're into most lately. Like what are you like actively working on that you're just like so into right now?
Right now, my quest is actually, and I think there's a bunch of other people out there, like a podcast called Haunted Cosmos. I think that, and my good friend James Finley, we've been really moving down a path where we're trying to construct stories where we're starting to get people to. There's another way into faith, right? Everybody's always trying to beat down the door with Christianity, and are you saved, right? And that's the question. But there's another way to faith.
All right. Let's back up even one more step.
Yeah.
Okay, so like getting into faith. Is this a discussion where are you faith-based, opening the dialogue with non-faith-based people?
100%. And my partner Jeremy in my podcast is not.
Wow, interesting.
Yes.
The two of you, you got
Yes.
the whole yin and yang there.
Yin and yang.
Yeah, he calls me a cooler. Like if it's a haunted
What?
location, yeah, don't go in there, Frankie. We're not going to get anything.
All right, should we do like a round table, like share of like where we stand a little bit? Like, does that help
Oh yeah,
in the dialogue?
yeah. This
right?
is not to offend your audience or push them to Christianity.
This is me trying to participate a little bit.
Okay,
you
yeah.
know, because like I can be an audience member all day. Like you're great, and like I'm on your podcast right now. It's fun.
I
But
apologize.
but where I was raised Catholic, Baptist, Pentecostal. I went to all
Oh, wow,
three.
okay.
It was a juggle. Like the only thing we had more of was houses. I lived in like 10 houses by the time I was 10.
Were you an army brat or?
Nope, just Bonterre kid.
Okay.
Regular old Bonterre kid. And anyway, so a lot of churches, a lot of faith, and I was diehard believer, Christian, Jesus, like baptized, saved me, and like lived saved, like hardcore Christian until I was probably like 15,
Mm.
and then like I started to like drift away from it, and now my relationship is like pretty clear. I believe I'm agnostic.
Okay.
I have a super deep relationship with the universe / God.
Sure.
Like I believe in a creator / higher power.
Sure.
And I have this humbleness to just be grateful for like the energy that is. And I maybe believe a little bit in karma and like reaping what you sow.
Sure.
And a lot like things that I've just truly from like life experience. But I believe that like I'm not anti any religion. I think that in my heart, like most of us are all speaking like just different versions of the same story. And we're just all trying to figure it out.
Very close. Yes.
So that's my take.
I like that.
You don't have to share if you don't want.
No, I mean I grew up Catholic all the way through high school, so that's kind of where I've been at in my life. I can't say I'm like a practicing right now. I don't go to church often.
You didn't give up anything for lunch.
But no, I definitely.
You're not going to
didn't.
fish
I'm
fries?
That's more so just
St. Louis fish fries?
Dude, I'm working the fish
I
fries.
love fish fries.
You working them?
I'll fuck with a fish fry for sure.
Which one? All right, which ones you working?
I worked the one at my church, which is Most Sacred. So
Nice.
in Eureka.
All right.
Yeah. I love the priest there is really cool.
What about you? And then we're gonna let him.
I am Catholic, non-practicing. I believe in Christian values. I don't really see eye to eye with the Catholic Church these days.
You like
for
the- you like-
I'm the
various
same.
reasons.
I'm pretty much in that same.
We don't
boat.
have to go down that route.
You like the
but-
10 rules. Like, it's good to have 10 rules.
I think just being a good person with integrity and morals. I think that being brought up Catholic is excellent. I think it's a good foundation for. I have a
is.
2-year-old. He'll be brought up in some respect as a Catholic. But I believe in the big guy up there for sure. And then when you get into like spirits and stuff like that,
Here we go.
I kind of believe in that stuff.
I definitely believe in that stuff.
Okay,
yeah,
that's good.
I've for sure. I was just thinking about this earlier. Like, it's just funny that I think when you're growing up, you just you're in denial, and you're just like, that's not real. That's
Yeah.
just crazy people or people that are confused. And then now you're like, no.
Oh yeah.
When you grow up and you just experience,
You're like, I'm crazy and
you ex-
confused
yeah,
now.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
you
yeah.
experience so many different things, and you're just like, you know what? That's
I don't know what it is that I believe in exactly. It's almost hard to put a finger on, but like especially after now my twin brothers passed, it's like that night, I was like spooked out. Like I was like, he's coming to visit. Like there's just, and I have had that feeling 10 years later.
My gosh, I didn't think about
They said
that aspect.
yeah, there's a huge thing about twins.
Really, I
10% of them can actually have empathetic pains. If he was going through something, you were going through something, you could actually experience those things that he was going through. It depends on where you fall with that, but they actually did testing on twins, and 10% of them can actually feel each other's pain. Twins are very interesting biblically, just in general. Even though one has passed, some believe that actually you guys are still connected, 100%. Like there's still part of you in him, and vice versa, which gives you what they believe is it's called a fringe value, which means that you're ultra sensitive.
I've seen Fringe. That's
It's a great show.
That's how you'll connect a lot of people, though. I
it was
swear.
a great show,
Dude, you
Interesting.
personally, I mean,
What?
You've ever felt like
Oh,
that's super personal? You don't have to answer that.
No, and I don't want
No,
to
you
get
don't.
you know, it's not my I'm not the guest, but
You are now.
the night he passed, like there was this feeling. I remember my mom was obviously unconsolable.
Yeah.
And I remember telling her like, no, he's with me, and he was with me more that night than he had ever been.
Wow.
Yeah.
It transcended physical physical reality. Like he was, like I was him.
Yeah.
If you could make a
Wow.
twin, two twins, one person at that point, that's what it was like. It was
Yeah.
bizarre. Some would say, well, you were just in shock.
Yeah, idiots.
But it was
Haters.
ridiculous, and that feeling to this day is what's kept me motivated, going, and
Yeah, and it should.
Wow.
It should keep you. You keep a piece of him, and actually, he has a piece of you, which is what some believe that fringe value is. Which means that if you go to spooky places, you will have more supernatural encounters because part of you is beyond the veil.
really,
Yeah,
that makes total sense.
that's a theory. So I'm not saying that that's
Yeah,
scientific,
Yeah.
but some believe that.
yeah,
That's
I
what
can see it.
I've kind of throughout life. I've been like, obviously, you're a kid. You're scared of ghosts. That's just a normal
100%.
thing.
Terrified.
But like,
like I saw some stuff in like one house we lived in, and I mean I was afraid.
Yeah,
yeah,
Like just like even simple stuff like lights going off when like you just like walk over and be like,
nope.
someone switched this.
Yeah.
Like what the hell's that?
Yeah.
Yep. Nope.
All right, so this is jump to. This is where we do a jump to. The thing that you're working on most right now,
So
and your
yeah.
dialogue started with kind of like to faith.
Yeah, it's an intro to faith in a different way, in a different light. And I think other people, I'm not taking full credit for this, but other people have starting to experience what we've been experiencing is that there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff out there. There's a lot of Bigfoot and black-eyed kids, and you got werewolves, and you got Dogman, and you got Hatman, and you got a bunch of different things that are happening, right? And I'm sorry, I've lived my life as a creative. I have a master's degree in fine arts. Not everybody's creative, and there's not that many of us. So to say that all these creative writers are going out there and saying, hey, this is something new, and just writing it up and making it fake, I don't believe that. I don't buy into it. We're dealing with a case right now with Hatman that actually is coming out of St. Louis. It's a private investigation. And when the guy said it, I looked at Jeremy and said, are you kidding me? I'm just talking about this stuff. And I don't know who Hatman is. And so I'm relying on some of my faith-based brothers to kind of be like, hey, dude, like I'm good with the black-eyed kids. I'm good with Bigfoot. But I don't know about Hatman. And he's like, that's an interesting one. And so we're diving deeper into some stuff. So earlier,
I don't know what that is.
yeah, Hat Man
Man.
is actually it starts with sleep paralysis, and some people get sleep paralysis where their eyes are kept open,
Oh man.
which is horrifying.
Jesus.
I've had it most of the times, but my eyes are always closed. I can hear stuff. I can hear the whispers, but I can never. When the eyes are open, it's the most. It's really visual because you can't do anything. You can't scream. You can't move. And what's happening scientifically is your body is so run down and tired that it has to sleep, but your mind is awake. That's
geez.
what sleep paralysis scientific meaning is. So it does happen. Whether it's paranormal or not is yet to be determined. But in this case, when your eyes are left open, Hat Man appears. The red-eyed shadow people, and then Lilith, right? So Lilith is actually what some believe was fake story. It's not. It's actually Adam's first wife. There's
Becomes like a demon? Like, is she like a demon?
She was a fallen. She's a member of the fallen.
Okay, this is
Okay.
supernatural. What I'm.
Yes.
I mean.
And Supernatural did an incredible job of telling real stories.
Oh man, I love
The
this show.
Hitchhiker ghost.
Yeah.
Yes, I've had James Finley actually experience that with his brother.
Crossroads, like the devils.
Crossroads,
and
yep.
all- Oh man.
Yep.
Okay,
So
shit.
there's a things that like this stuff that we keep talking about that's out there. 20 years ago, if you talked about it, people thought you were crazy. But now more people are experiencing. And so what does that mean? Is there a break? Is there a rip? Is there a tear in the fabric? Is something happening? Is supernatural now starting to take over this world because they're starting to realize that we've become kind of not only defenseless against it, but we've made so many movies that we're kind of numb to being scared.
Oh Jesus.
So now they're like, well, wow, man, we can't really scare these people anymore. So I think we got to step up our game. And there's a legion of demons that are out there, and we believe this. And I know it sounds crazy, but when you talk to exorcists, when you talk to priests that deal with this every day, when you know priests that have died because of an exorcism, like they're not lying, they're dead. Like Father Martin Malachi is a very good example of a priest that lost his life to an exorcism, was killed by the demon the same night of a 4-year-old girl. That's a true story, and the documentary is done by a CIA agent. So when you look at what the early foundations of it, for me, it's always going, how far back can we go? And that's what led us to looking at some of the stories of saints. Okay, so saints dealt a lot with this. So what can they teach us? Well, St. Patrick, we could start with him because it just happened, right? So St. Patrick's actually not Irish. He's actually born in Scotland, but his parents are from Rome. His name is not Patrick, right? It's Maywin, Sakut. That's his actual name. We call him St. Patrick because it's easier. At 14 years old, he's captured by the Irish pagans and druids, and he fights his way out. The famous story about St. Patrick, if you're good Catholics, what did he do in Ireland? He
Drove some snakes out or something?
That's it.
Well, I thought that was Peter. I thought that was Peter the Piper.
That was Peppers.
Close.
We'll get to that one.
We'll get to that one.
Right.
Saint Peter of the Peppers. Saint Peter of the Green Peppers. But no, you had
Take a swig. Take a swig. You're
Yeah.
chatting us up. You're chatting us up. This is good, and we're in it, man. We're yours right now.
Okay, so St. Patrick is this interesting figure that comes out of it. And I love that people just get drunk on his day and not realize how cool if you just stayed sober just one more hour. And I can tell you the story about St.
Andy.
Patrick. Yeah, so.
Andy was in Dogtown.
Oh, Jesus. Thanks for making it out, bud. Did you get the
was
ticket?
there.
Yeah.
Yep.
The bumper sticker?
No,
I
didn't.
survived Dogtown.
I wore my shirt the next day that says "I love Dogtown,"
Yeah.
but it's a
But Dogtown is great, though. It's an incredible part of the city.
Anyway,
yeah,
go.
anyway, yeah. So St. Patrick is this person that becomes revered. He's like, oh my God, I'm 14 years old and I'm kind of a badass. And so he starts taking on the druids and he starts taking on the pagans. What most people don't understand is that if you weren't of the Christian faith, if you weren't of the gods of Abraham, so Islam, Muslim, that religion doesn't exist. Okay, that's not going to exist. It exists at this point in Patrick's life. But prior to that, that's 600 years after Jesus Christ. And a lot of people don't understand that. So the conflict in Israel, you have to understand the history there, right? They're not around. They're Persians. Like, they're not, Islam's not happening yet. So that's an interesting tie-in, right? So you had 600 years prior to that. In this particular case, Patrick, or Maywin, is basically battling druids. And if you're not of the faiths of Abraham, then in most cases, you can go to Mexico and around the world. It's all a serpent god. In most cases, it's a serpent god. So when he says he drives the snakes out of Ireland, he's talking about the druids. He's going to embattle himself, and he becomes a warrior. And he's going to kick the shit out of the pagans. and he's going to bring Christ to Ireland. Okay, which is why the Protestants and the Catholics in Ireland became a thing because of what they fought for, because of the superstitions, because of the myths of St. Patrick. Because what comes out of St. Patrick is his last battle that nobody talks about, but we all love that what came out of it, and what came out of that was the werewolves. Because St. Patrick is going to battle the werewolves.
What?
Yes.
These are true stories?
These are true stories. This is actually
My
history.
head just went.
Yeah.
Oh, well, this is our whole podcast is a pursuit for the best stories. I feel like you're pulling some threads right now.
Yeah, so he drives the serpents
Okay.
out, which basically Conan the Barbarian, if you watch that, it's a serpent god.
Okay.
So when he drives the werewolves out, however, it's very different. But people are thinking right now, what do you mean? These people were wolves?
Exactly. Is this like a werewolf like in Twilight? Is this a werewolf like Teen Wolf? Is it somewhere in between or outside?
Most of the pagan religions are blood religions, right? So they're blood sacrifices. All blood sacrifices lead to one demon. Well, those demons, of course, work under an angel,
Oh my gosh.
Lucifer, which is not Satan. Satan's a totally different entity. This is the thing that the Catholics and I disagree on. Satan is not Lucifer. Lucifer is not Satan. It's
Whoa,
clear.
yeah, you're
Very clear.
not in my church growing up.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's very clear
It's
that Satan
different.
is its own thing.
Whoa, who's Satan?
He's dark matter.
Okay.
Okay, so he is.
Is that a whole bonus episode? Like,
Yeah.
Jesus.
That's Dark Matter episode.
Yeah.
Okay. Tease.
He is.
Tease.
He is the opposite.
All right. We'll
But-
stay focused.
Yeah, you can
Okay.
stay focused. But most of this is coming from the lessers. Okay, so these are the demons. So a lot of times people read about Lucifer falling from heaven, falling from grace, and coming into the Garden of Eden. We have all heard that story.
Yes.
But it's not just Lucifer, right? So because people forget the passage after it. And I saw Lucifer, and there cast upon him was Saint Michael. And I saw Saint Michael, and he cast him from heaven.
Supernatural. I'm telling you.
Supernatural.
They nailed it.
Yes, comic books. The thing they didn't mention was the last line. And I saw with him a third of heaven fall.
A bunch of them.
A third of heaven fell.
A third of the angels are now fallen.
Yes, but
It-
angels always keep their arc.
And they're like now what, like super demons
They're
or
around us.
something? Like are they
They're
like,
been
are
around
they
us.
angel? They're here?
They're immortals. Yeah,
Whoa. Okay.
they've been around us forever. It's the reason why people have talent. Because what happened was the embedment of sin, which is when the flood happened. That's fine. You're not killing an angel, right? Because it's the same arc. They never lose their arcs.
Talking the Noah flood.
Yes, which he didn't sail. Which a lot of people are like, wait, how did he do? He didn't sail. He was just meant to build an ark to float for 40 days, and then it went. He landed. That was it. That's what if you read the passages, right?
Right.
So it gets darker because all of this adds up to where Patrick is right now, right? St. Patrick. He's fighting off snakes. He's fighting off blood rituals. He's fighting off druids. He's fighting off people that are doing psilocybin. So most of these pagan religions are all doing hallucinogenics to talk to demons. That's what happens when you do psilocybin. Everybody that does it will tell you they talk to a god. They talk to the God, the people that created us. And in a sense, there is two things that I want you to realize. If heaven is above, then what's below heaven?
Hell.
Right. And where's earth?
Middle.
Right.
Midgard.
Is it?
I don't know.
That's the plane you have to dance with.
Yeah.
So religion.
That's like the narcissist in me, the human, is like,
Right.
we're right in the middle.
We're in the middle. We're better than this.
Yeah.
This is crazy
We're
talk.
bigger than hell and heaven.
Somebody give that guy a cigarette. But it's strange because when Patrick faces off with the werewolves, he's dealing with something he hasn't dealt before with. And so he calls his men back to him and he's like, what is going on exactly? He's like, well, they do blood rituals and they turn into wolves. And that's what they did. They actually took wolves and they ate wolves, and then they took their furs and they covered themselves in wolf heads, garments, paws, claws, teeth. This is what their enamel was. When you were fighting these people, you were literally fighting a wolf.
Okay.
You were fighting their fangs,
They
their
got
claws,
they got the skin on them.
and they were incredible fighters.
Okay.
They acted and danced like wolves, and he says this in his
Okay.
diaries.
Okay.
So they could climb, they could jump, they could leap, they hunt in packs, they did in circles, they lure people in. Actually, when a wolf howls at you, it's telling you to get the fuck away. It's actually not trying to hurt you.
Yeah, get out of here.
Yeah, it's a wolf is telling you you're in the wrong place and you need to back up.
Yeah.
And when the howls stop, you're in the right place. They're territorial. Okay? These people understood that. And the wolf for them was the god. So that was their pagan god. And so fighting them was different than anything they'd ever dealt with. But eventually they do conquer them and they do kill them, and they actually starts the werewolf lore because it comes from St. Patrick. Yes, it is true that these people were possessed. They were possessed by demons that believed they were wolves, and that's how they fought. And so it's a true story. It's actually the origin story of St. Patrick, and the werewolves after the snakes. So it's just that's kind of where my thinking is these days.
Yeah.
And it gets darker and darker and darker.
Is that an episode or a series, or is
We're-
that just working its way in?
Yeah, because St. George aligns with St. Patrick a lot because St. George slayed a dragon.
Dude.
So that was how St. George got his wrecked.
Now you're
So-
slaying dragons. I mean,
Yeah.
this
I
is like
didn't-
King Arthur shit
Yeah.
right now.
I didn't learn this in 3rd grade.
No.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. And I'm
Yeah.
sure it's like, I mean, a lot of the stuff is like controversial, right? Like it's like mainstream.
is.
Like mainstream, you're always up against. You're always going to be up against mainstream, which is like, yeah, right. No way. None of that.
Yeah.
And then there's like the truth of like, hey, some of this stuff is real.
It's real. It is real as day, as real as I tell you. Like witches.
Is that what keeps you going? Is that what it's
Yeah.
about for you?
Oh, witches are real. If anybody's-
What else? What else? Yeah.
Witches and demons are absolutely real. If you've ever been in an exorcist room, if you've ever been around a magician, I lived in Vegas for 2 years. I was around Chris Angel. You ever heard of him?
Yeah, of course.
Mhm.
Yeah, he has keys to the lesser Solomon. He has keys.
What's that?
He can control demons. That's what Solomon was able to do. That's where that comes from. It actually comes out of the 14th, 15th century, those books.
Mm.
But it was found and it was hidden for years because Solomon talks a little bit about it in his last writings when he's dying because he had the knowledge to control demons. And that is something that is actually a lesson of us, right? The reason why Lucifer didn't like humans was that God feared and loved them more.
Loved him more. Yeah.
So he gave us more power. He gave us dominion over angels. He
Okay.
gave us dominion over demons.
Okay.
Now, if you're scared of them and you're not faithful, they can take you. But if you're faithful, they can't. So they're scared. But the ones that heavily have to deal with these guys all the time
Mm-hmm.
are the ones that believe. That's the one the devil wants, the believers. So it's crazy. I know it sounds nuts.
That's where my head goes though. Is like, all right, for someone that's getting just like a taste right now, like
Yeah.
teasing people to go check out the Haunted Garage. You guys are on Instagram, at the Haunted Garage. What is the advice for like everydayers? like what's the advice to not get like haunted?
In most cases, and I don't mean to insult anyone, but when you sit where we sit, they already have you.
Oh, geez.
They don't care.
Oh man, you're really putting
It's the ones that
chills into
it's
us.
the ones that are challenging them now, and the ones that usually challenge them, it ends badly for them because the things that they're trying to keep is this facade, like the Salem witch trials. Do you honestly think the Salem witch trials were fake? The problem is they killed the wrong people. It was the kids. It was the black-eyed kids. It's in the history. It's in the
Oh my
journals. It's in the
gosh.
books.
What stories have done that? Has somebody
it's,
done
it's
that?
the actual journal of Salem in 1692. It was the children that convicted everybody. The children.
Wow.
Let's read it.
Jeez.
Giles Corey. Giles Corey is actually one of the coolest people in the history of deaths. He gets crushed to death. And they asked Giles Corey, please just admit that you sold your soul to devil, that you're a witch. Just please admit it, man. We don't want to do this to you. And what he says, his famous last words were, more weight. Because that's how much faith he had in God. And the other thing was, if he had succumbed to saying, yes, I was a devil worshiper, yes, I made a pact with the devil, then he would lose all his lands and his family would get nothing. So he literally dies for his family. And Giles Corey is one of the coolest persons in American history, right? Because in America, we didn't burn witches at the stake. We hung, drowned, and crushed. That's what we did here. And
Crushed.
Yes.
Oh God.
And there's a whole book on how to do it too. There's a book on
Step
how to.
one:
Yeah.
catch your witch.
Yeah, that's right. It's an
Step two: get your hole.
Make sure she's a witch.
We can laugh about it now. They weren't laughing.
Exactly. Make sure she has candles and incense.
Oh, and it is insensitive too, because like that's my that's the what you're getting right now is like the raw like reaction to every story you are telling has that hook to it where like I just want to hear more.
Yeah, I'm sorry. If I went too long, I apologize.
No, not at all. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, like I'm just like I'm plugging you right now because like there's so many themes, and I want to hear more, and I feel like every episode you could have just an episode every day.
Yeah.
Like you really have the knowledge. It seems like you've done your due diligence on like spending your time with it. You can tell that you really care about it.
Yeah, it's passion, right? It's
Yeah.
like you ghosts are the least things I worry about, and it's like the things that. Ghosts are mostly residual, and if you get to see a ghost, it's awesome. It's an awesome experience. It's the universe, like you said, kind of playing history for you.
Yeah.
Because residual hauntings aren't going to hurt you, and
that's
if you
what it
can
is.
just get past it, I know it's scary, but it's not going to interact with you. It's not. It doesn't know you're there, and you don't know that it's there. You're just watching history. And sometimes, and the reason why we know this is because they don't interact. They are the same exact story. That's what a residual haunting is. So we're in St. Louis and in St. Charles and the Lemp. Lemp's not so much, but, there's kind of less spirits there now because it's just, there's a whole other history there, super quick. But after Charles dies in 49, that place is a flop house for 25 years. There's a lot of incest going on, murders, child rape. There's a lot of stuff happening right in Cherokee. So to say that place is haunted by the Lemps is very rare. It's haunted by something else. But those are the type of things that I would encourage people. So that's what I mean. The gateway to faith is not through telling stories about Jesus, because if you read Jesus, like I have read the Bible 3 times, almost was a priest. If you read about Jesus, do you know what he talks more about than anything? Hell. He warns us. He gives power to his disciples to exercise. When he dies, he's the Lamb of God. He sacrifices himself. So you even have more dominion over these demons. But they're not going to reveal each other till much later in life. And they are ever present now. And they are just ruling the world. And it's crazy to sit back and have the knowledge and be like, man, is people really going along with this stuff? But once again, God says, I will harden their hearts and I will blind them. For they do not know, for they are lukewarm, and I will spit them from my mouth. So it's like, okay, well, I guess we can't convince this guy,
Yeah.
But that's how people are locked off. So I was telling persona politics. It doesn't matter what side you're on. They're locked off, man.
Mm-hmm.
You can't get a word in. You're just going to believe that. All right, cool. You're just going to, okay, and you're going to believe that. Okay. But you can't have a conversation with anybody anymore.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
How's it go? Do you guys have crazy guests? Do you have dialogue with other
Yeah.
personalities out there? You're in your local St. Louis, but is this girl who are you talking to? Who comes on your show? Who's are you talking to the historians around town a lot? Is it
so like I said,
people that lived and did some of these things? It seems like
Yeah.
there's some footwork that could be done.
There is a lot of, we are sporadic, and we don't like to be so heavy all the time.
Yeah.
If you listen to our YouTube show, we're hilarious.
Is that Haunted
ridiculous.
Garage?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, everything's there, and there's 2 different playlists. One is the radio show, and one is the actual cameras on us and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I've heard. Yeah, you're right. You mix it up. It is.
Yeah,
it's got
it's
and
not
you got
heavy,
you got a
but-
tone to it. You guys are also sitting down doing this real life. We can totally
Yeah.
relate to it. All right, let's do this. Questions. Giggler for Franki Cambeletta.
I don't know. What?
Where to start?
We covered every corner of the whole universe. All I know is I'm gonna have
Yeah.
I'm gonna have
You're right.
I'm gonna have I don't know, my my St. Patrick's Day next year is gonna be a bit different.
So you're going to dress like a wolf.
Yeah, just like
See how many mushrooms I can take.
I want you to have homework and learn more about a lot of the history that Frankie talked
Yeah.
about today. Listen to this episode and get in touch with more of the truth about St. Patrick's Day instead of just loving Dogtown. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you know why they call
I
it
know the
Dogtown.
backstory now.
I don't even know that.
My.
Well, think
Wait,
about
do
it.
you?
What-
Do you?
No.
Do you know why it's called Dogtown?
No.
All right, Frankie,
Werewolves.
get out.
Of course. Is this
Is that why they have the parade there?
Have you? How do you? Where
What are wolves?
Where do you learn more? Where do you learn more about that?
I think that they did it unintentionally. I think that we talk about the driving of the serpents, but we never talk about the werewolves. And it's it's weird that this town would call itself Dogtown. And it's right. That's what I'm talking about. People are blinded to it. It's what does that mean?
I've never
this
known.
It probably
homage.
means that somebody had
thought
a dog.
a
or
lot of
something.
dogs.
Yeah. It was a lot of strays.
Oh, they had a lot of dogs here.
Yeah, because across town there's Cat Town. That's not true. Don't look for that place. But what I'm saying is,
You don't want to be at Cat Town.
you don't want to be in Cat Town.
Maybe
It
Cat's
smells like
meow.
piss.
It's on the other side of the river, I heard.
Yeah, Cat Town.
What about you? You came prepared.
Okay, so we always think of ghosts. We even brought up. We're talking the Lemps, 1800s, late 1800s, early 1900s.
Sure.
Do you foresee, media and entertainment gives this lens that ghosts and spirits are always old, so dated. They're wearing old garb. Do you see? I guess one. Are there spirits, ghosts that around us that are like my brother or recent, and do you see 100 years from now somebody sitting at a table like this having a podcast talking about the 2000s ghosts?
Yeah. So two answers, 2 parts,
Mhm.
right? One part, as in life, so in death. Easiest thing to remember. Your brother was a kind person in life. He's a kind spirit. In most cases, if you grew up Catholic, he saw the light immediately, is asleep in Christ. Another chance is if you're not, and you're atheist or you're agnostic, but war Catholic, so you have a decision to make. God is pretty clear on where he stands with free will. It's one of the reasons why the angels hated him too.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, they get free will and we don't. And it's like, no, you got to work for me, bud. This is our creation.
Punch
We're gonna do
in,
this together. Right.
punch in,
Yeah,
punch out.
Exactly, bro.
You can do that on your own time.
That's right.
That's in a movie I just watched.
You have
too.
PTO, kind of.
Kind of.
Now go to Jupiter and kill that planet.
Go to Jupiter. I like your heaven.
Yeah, exactly. So you have free will, and that doesn't end because you die. You can choose to transfer. You can choose to transition on, or you can choose to stay. And I believe that.
Okay.
I believe that.
Okay.
I
So
think
you got like your own way station type of
it
thing
is
happening.
Yeah, it is funny. I mean, I often make this joke where it's like, you live your whole life and you raised a beautiful family and you went to work every day and you save that money up. You have that retirement check. You finally buy that house with your wife and you enjoy your empty nest years and your kids come back and you have the holidays and you do all these things and you see the world with this person you love. She eventually passes and then you're left in a hospice clinic and then you die. And then for the rest of eternity, you jiggle a door handle. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard for people to believe in ghosts. I get it. I
Yeah.
do. But there's a reason they're here. If they've chosen to stay, they have a message and nobody's hearing them. And unfortunately, a lot of the messages that ghosts are trying to tell us are expiring. They're running out of energy. They're running out of ways to manifest. And so some people's crimes get unsolved. And I believe that if you are still here and you're hanging out, you're trying to signal. When you talk to mediums, which I believe heavily in if they're the right ones. There's a lot of fakes out there. But the Bible's pretty clear. There are 28 times in the Bible where they mention demons, mediums, possessions, forms. These things exist, is what the Bible's saying. So if we believe that Christ is Lord and he died, then you have to believe in the rest of the stuff too. You can't have your apple and eat it too. It's not a sugar-coated world for any of us, but definitely God is interacting. But you have to understand too, with that free will comes, well, why isn't these movies the demon always wins? Like Exorcist Believer, which was a terrible movie. It's like, okay, you're going to kill a priest. Nice. Not going to happen, bro. It does happen, but like in those types of scenarios, it's like the devil doesn't win, dude. You have dominion over him. Those people know that in that room. So it's like, it's weird. But yeah, dude, I think there's both. I always often ask, like, where's the ghost of cavemen? It's like
Exact same thought process.
Yeah.
You just see somebody like hitting a wall and starting a fire for the first time, or like the wheel. He's like, somebody's got the wheel. Like,
and you see him catch fire, and you're like, what the?
Yeah. What's going on?
This is how I died. Don't use this shit.
All right, have you heard of a show called I Survived?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Right?
And then they do like they had this second series of it, I Survived Beyond and Back.
Oof.
And that was intense. I mean, it's a great format. 3 stories, I think, usually maybe 2, 3. I think it's 3 actually. They do people that almost died, they come back, and this Beyond and Back, like the similarities in the stories, things that you've said, like there's this afterlife and experiencing it and coming back, and there are so many episodes that you kind of end up getting like I don't know, 36 testimonials where you're kind of going like, man, this is. Can't ignore like hardly any of this.
Yeah, there's a doctor in Texas that actually believes so much because he does port injections. So if you have like a defibrillator, it's a pacemaker. So it's really the only surgery that we do where we kill somebody and bring them back to life. So he has a camera that faces up, and he has a screen that faces down. And on that screen, he plays a series of images: flowers, horses, dogs, just things, butterflies, things like that. And he's a real doctor, does this, and he lets you know, hey, I'm going to do this. We don't have to, okay? But if you want to, I'd really love it. I'm trying to gather research for it. 90% of his patients say, yeah, dude, whatever. Because I'm going to kill you now. And that's what he does. So he kills the person, and he puts the pacemaker, and he brings them back to life. After they recover, he brings them back into the office. He goes, have you seen anything? Did you see anything? Do you remember anything? And I think his research is so a lot of people haven't, but there was one that he almost lost. So now he believes, this is actually, if you want to read more about this, I would read a book called Spooked by Mary Roach. She goes all into this doctor. Incredible book. She's really funny too about ghosts, and she really makes me question and think things through too. But in that scenario, there are doctors out there that believe like maybe there is something out there. So he wants them to say, did you see anything? And this one guy said, yeah, I remember seeing a dog, this beautiful dog, but it wasn't my dog. He was like running through a field, and that was one of the pictures. So something transpired there. Something happened. And we just don't know how far that goes. We know that thermodynamics prove that you cannot destroy energy, and we are energy. So to say that we're not something else, our life form goes to somewhere, right? So that's what I would say to that.
Wow.
That's awesome. I mean, it's like, I don't know, it's like comforting to me. I don't know. Like, personally, it's just like, you know, that there's something else, and also, you know, could impact the way you live today, like either way. But just knowing something on the other side of that veil.
I mean, you could be like my uncle, and he's like, sleep is just practice for the dead.
It's
terrible, isn't it? It's
like, just
Jesus.
like infinite black.
Yeah. It's like, what do you think you sleep for? You got to get you're going to do this the rest of your life. It's like, all right. I never remember sleeping.
We'll be right back.
Hey, podcast listeners, this is Chris Holsey. I'm the host of the new true crime podcast, Small Town Forgotten. In the first season, I focus on a very personal cold case. 31 years ago, my family member Jimmy Wade Martin was murdered in front of multiple witnesses in Bonne Terre, Missouri. A murder weapon was found, and a man confessed, and yet there have been no convictions and no justice for Jimmy Wade's twin daughters. You can listen to Small Town Forgotten directly from our website, smalltownforgotten.com, Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere you get your podcasts. Thanks for listening.
We know that if you're tuning into this podcast, you like listening to stories. Audible has you covered. Audible is the ultimate destination for audiobook lovers. Whether you're a fan of Stephen King's The Dark Tower series or the MCU, The Reign of Marvel Studios, they have everything you could find and more. Start your free 30-day trial today. You'll get 1 credit, 2 if you're a Prime member, which you can use to choose any premium selection title. You'll also receive access to the Audible Plus catalog with podcasts, audiobooks, and Audible originals, and shows like Mostly Superheroes. You'll even get a friendly reminder before your 30-day trial ends. Visit audibletrial.com/mostly, or visit mostlysuperheroes.com and find our Audible page. Subscribe to Audible today and start listening to your story. All right, back to the show. All right, well, you want to do some fun stuff with us real quick? You got the time?
We'll do. Why not? Let's lighten the mood here.
Let's just do. We'll do
fan mail.
All right, we had a contest on the website at mostlysuperheroes.com/contest. We gave away a vinyl to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, and we have a winner, actually. And this person messaged me on Instagram, and I have their handle here, Mr. Brian. Congratulations, Brian. We have Brian. Oh, here we go.
Brian's
Brygar,
a cool guy to hang out with.
Brygar05, dude. There he
Nice.
is, man. We just found you. You messaged me. He goes, hey, I got your email about the free vinyl. I just wanted to make sure that it's not spam and that it's real. And I said, yep, this is it.
Good looking out.
Dude,
yeah.
he lives in Texas. Oh, no, Texas Avenue. This is a local guy. We got a local winner, Brian G. in St. Louis.
State Street. All right.
Let's give out that full address.
That's my zip code.
Yeah, let's just give everybody this full address where Brian lives
Yeah.
on one of the state streets.
I can drop it off to
I'll
him.
cut that out in post. Don't worry, Brian.
No
I'll-
doxing.
There you go. And he'll be actually picking up this record since he's a local winner at Planet Score Records in Maplewood.
Awesome.
And we usually pick another vinyl to fill the spot. And since you're our guest, Frankie,
Yeah.
I don't know if you have an album that you'd that you love, and we'd give it away to a listener on our show.
Man, I have a Johnny Cash one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What is it?
It's his best hits.
It's just like a best. Like you own it.
Oh, I own it. Yeah.
All right, so that's dude, Johnny Cash. Let's do it. Like just like a greatest hits.
I got it at Vince's Vinyl. Right there.
This guy?
Nope.
This one?
Mhm.
All right, so the album's called Johnny Cash, The Legend of Johnny Cash. It's a greatest hits album. This is the next one up. You can win this at mostlysuperheroes.com/contest. And we're also giving away a gift certificate, also local prize. You know, if you're coming to town, though, let us know, too. The Royale Food and Spirits. I just had an awesome episode there with Steve, the owner there. We're giving you away a gift certificate so you can go have a night or an afternoon or whatever you want on the show. Frankie, I know you said you were a fan.
Oh my God. When I lived in the city, and I do miss living in the city, Royale was my place.
Really?
They stayed
Nice.
open later, and they still served food. Right? Like that's
That's
the one
good
thing,
food.
dude. Like Good food. Yes, exactly. Like that Gramophone.
That's
you
how I
can
got
still
intro to the
eat.
Gramophone.
Late night
Yeah.
food is
Yes.
so hard to find now.
It is, man. Courtesy's gone.
And it's gone
Uncle
down.
Bill's burned down. What the hell? What's going on?
Dude, it did burn down. Uncle Bill's. Oh, man, that was the
Yeah.
place. Oh, there was also a place in Soulard that burned down, too. Was that Uncle Bill's in Soulard? Or was Uncle
No,
Bill's?
Uncle Bill's was on Grand. Not Grand.
Billy's Diner.
King's Highway.
Billy's Diner was in Soulard,
Billy's
and it burned down.
Yeah.
All right.
Demons.
Demons.
100%.
It's got demons written all over.
All right, Andy, you went to Apotheosis Comics. Martin, you know Martin over there, Frankie?
I do.
Yeah, what a guy.
Love Martin.
What'd you get?
Martin is awesome. So to get ready for X-Men 97 episode 3 today, had to get the X-Men prequel comic here.
Sweet.
This
Are you
first
watching
one,
the series?
first one just
Oh, yeah.
came out.
You're watching the X-Men show?
Yes.
Are you caught up?
No, I'm not. So
Okay.
I don't-
We'll have to kick you out of here.
Yeah.
Not yet. That's the last thing we're going to do today.
Okay.
Got some Batman 89 echoes, just continuation.
Oh, and sorry, I skipped over you, though. That X-Men prequel comic, that sounds pretty epic. That's
Oh.
so that leads into the show.
Yes.
Okay.
That's
Are
my
you
understanding.
read comics?
I have
I
not
do.
opened it.
I haven't read them in a while. I have all of Wolverine, the
Okay.
entire collection.
Hell yeah.
So I'm a huge X-Men fan.
Hell yeah. Scotty Scoop's going to be so sad. He's got an epic comic collection. He's one of our third hosts. We had to get Sam here. He's subbing.
the alternate.
You did great, Sam.
Oh, thank you.
He's nailing it. Did you read this one?
I haven't read any of these.
No.
I just
Which one-
picked
which
these
one
up.
is
So
that?
yeah, pass them around if you want.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh,
Keep on
you're
going, Andy.
Batman 89 Echoes,
Oh,
just
yeah.
basically continuation of the Batman 89 story. This is the second one in the series of 6. Very much looking forward to this.
Hold it up again, too, so
Oh,
that
yeah.
way I don't have to just do it in post.
You can see my arch nemesis, Jack Nicholson Joker, on there as well.
That's why he's called
Yeah.
Giggler, because when he was a kid, he had nightmares about Jack Nicholson Joker.
Oh,
and
yeah, I
we
mean,
said that he
it
would
was-
get tickled to where he'd be giggling but scared, so we call him the Giggler.
It's true story.
Jesus.
You're
This
now you're part of the crew because you know that story. Martin knows. I had to tell him the other day.
That's right. We only
There's
tell
only,
it.
like-
We tell it once every 4.5 years.
There's only like 10 people that know the story, like my own family. And that's it. Then just you guys.
That's
why,
us.
Why are you not sitting in the Joker's chair?
I know. I need to swap him.
Really?
I
I'll
actually
swap
thought
you.
that when we got these.
And it just giggles like the whole time. He just giggles in it.
That's
Yeah.
it. Oh, dude.
You add like
It's
a
all right.
massage.
I ended
this
the
in 5
nightmares by
It's amazing.
I bit off his middle finger, and then the nightmares ended. It was really weird.
That's,
That's
I don't know if I.
exactly how
Oh,
you
that's
do it.
right. I forgot about
He
that.
flipped me off, and then I wasn't laughing after that. That
Yep.
was
You
weird.
can tickle me all you want.
I-
You
I'm
flick me
glad it-
off.
Yeah,
I'm from
exactly.
St. Louis, bro.
I think that was like
Yeah.
me growing out of that nightmare. I used to watch Batman 89 every single day. All my babysitters just hated me for that. Just absolutely sick of it. I was the demon to them, but
I'd love to know what else
Still
was
am.
happening in your life too, because you were probably overcoming, something, and then you bit that finger off, and you went to school the next day, and you told the bully "Stop bullying me."
Yeah.
I'm Batman.
Yeah, and then you proceed to get
Hell yeah!
bullied. into-
That's why Batman's popular. We just described it. All right,
Exactly.
Ultimate Spider-Man. I see it.
Oh man, Ultimate Spider-Man.
You familiar,
one,
Frankie?
Yes, I.
brand new, just came out the last month. I
You
believe.
got 1 and 3. You're looking for 2.
Yeah, I got
right?
it. Yeah, if anyone has number 2, send it on over.
You
but-
familiar with this story?
I have
this
the spectacular Spider-Mans.
one? Okay.
Nice.
Okay.
I'm old, man. So
No, it's This is like
this is the new stuff.
this is the new stuff.
I got like what is that? Brolin's dad?
This is.
Kind of looks like him actually.
It's a
Yeah.
You know, guy from Amityville.
and it's like Spider-Man. It's like he didn't get his powers, but then he's offered his powers later in life.
What?
Yes,
yeah, pretty
by
cool.
Tony Stark.
I'm really excited. I accidentally.
He's like 35,
ordered-
and they're like, "Hey, the spider bit someone else. That you got to do it now." And he's like, "Wait a minute, what? I would have been this spider guy."
Yeah,
And
it's gonna be awesome. I mean, there's so many variations of this story. I'm excited for this one for sure.
Oh my god, this looks epic.
I
I'm
know.
back. I'm into comics, man.
Well,
He's new. He really got into comics and he downloaded the Marvel Unlimited app and got really into it. And now he's like a weekly buyer. He's going for his Wednesday pools. And now I'm starting to read a little bit, but I can feel myself really getting in.
It's all-
Comics were not
all
that
Martin's
interesting
fault.
when I was a kid. Like these stories are cool.
They are.
Our story, we had a lizard man throwing
Yeah.
cars at Spider-Man.
And
Like,
you had to read 1,000, and there'd be
Right.
like 5 good ones.
and then he's back. Like, what happened, dude? You guys remember Mudpack? No one remembers Mudpack. But Mudpack was like this guy that fought Batman, and he was mud.
Mudpack.
Like that was the antithesis of ideology.
Mudpack made
we're
the
gonna-
show. He
Right,
made
that
the
was the
show.
climax.
The animated series. He totally made it, right? He was the clay looking guy.
Yeah.
Surely.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he looked like a walking turd.
It's like one of the few things. Yes, exactly. He was like a pot. He kind of looks like one of those little brown bad guys from Mario too.
Right.
You know,
It happens when you do too much Ozempic. Like that's his
Yep.
origin story.
It's
That's
origin
how
story.
That's what happened to him.
It's a real life villain origin story. My
We are
God.
just touching on everything on this.
yeah, this is wild.
I grew up with comic books, man. I mean,
We gonna give one of these away though?
Yeah, well, let's do it. You got 2 copies of it. You want to read this Ultimate Spider-Man? We got the #1. Andy bought 2, so that means you get 1. Go to our website and just enter at mostlysuperheroes.com, and we'll get this one to you. That was nice of you to buy 2.
It was an accident.
I'll read it, and then I'll mail it to someone.
Accidentally buying.
That's a
something.
good call.
that's Martin though. Martin will just keep throwing comics at you. He's such a whiz. Like it's crazy. He's like, what do you want to read about? Dracula, vampire. He's not even looking anymore. He's just like zombies. What do you got?
yeah,
He like
it's
knows
insane.
where everything is. He's like Doc Ock back there. He's like
Doc Ock.
he's just, like,
Seriously,
throwing comics at you.
that's the perfect way to put it because about 5 other customers popped in and he was like helping them out, and then he'd see something on the shelf, and then he'd like pass it back to me and be like, "Hey, I think you like this one."
Right.
And I'm like, "What? This one's Scratch and Sniff," and I was like, "What?
You're walking out of there with
Scratch and
25
Sniff
comics.
What?"
yeah.
We recorded at his place a few weeks ago, and that's all it was. It was just him for an hour in his own store, pointing and being like, "Okay, now we're going to this. Now we're going to this." And then during the break, he gave this amazing description of this G.I. Joe series, and I was like, "Man, we are missing. This is gold." I was like, but it was definitely like he knows. It's just he's not looking at anything. He doesn't.
he doesn't.
He just walks over to a box and he's like,
and he's a
Yeah.
good dad. He's a great dad
Yeah.
too. Like he got out of politics, and then you can see how much happier he is. He looks younger.
"Yeah,
Politics just drains you, dude. Like, you know, it's like I don't think he'd ever go back to it. But he used to have the one down on Cherokee too that he closed, which was probably a brilliant move, and just focus on the one. It's always
Yes.
tough when you expand.
yeah,
And right across the street is Terra Tacos. Have you guys eaten there?
no, not yet."
You've got to do something with him.
Okay, why? What's
He
going
just
on at Terra
celebrated-
Tacos?
He just celebrated 3 years.
Okay,
He's a vegan chef. And honestly, dude, like I could be vegan if I ate his food every day. It is so good. Like
That's
how do you do it, man?
that's
a
how I feel.
claim.
That's how I feel at the Royale because I got
Yeah.
those vegan options.
Yes.
Dude,
Yes,
okay,
but-
Terra Taco.
Love it. His
Okay.
entire taco is all horror films, dude. It's got you got like Slipknot
Oh, hell
pictures.
yeah.
He's got cranking metal music. He's got some horror movie on the screen. The staff there is so cool and in tuned and tatted up like I am. So it's just a vibe. It's a horror vibe.
You go to the Crow's Nest, eat
Oh,
crow.
metal brunch. Yes, man. Bowl of slop, baby.
Dude,
All
those,
day.
those are the spots.
Yeah, that's
those are the spots.
You
Oh,
will
man.
find the haunted garage in that place a lot.
Dude, this
Blue
is
Duck too, man. Blue Duck's that guy.
Blue Duck
You know
throws?
why? He's a big chef.
Okay.
So look, I'm a big boy. Big boys make good chefs, man. They know it. They know
Hey,
it tastes good.
Somebody met
All the
right.
good ones are
Someone met right in the middle of all that today and went to the Post.
Oh, you did?
I did.
Right in the middle.
Yeah. I know. The Post has like best wings.
I haven't had their wings.
Their wings are phenomenal. That and Felix's.
I like having a
Oh,
beer at the
Felix.
Post
I haven't
at the
been-
bar.
Felix's has those
I haven't-
trashed wings. Like I could just do one on food in St. Louis, dude.
Why?
Like,
We created
I'd
What
be
You Eaten
so
to
in.
plug right into the show.
Okay, cool.
Well, let's do it. And we record it at places too. We've done recordings at Four Hands, the
Oh,
Royale,
yeah.
Apotheosis.
Kevin Lemp.
Yeah, Kevin emailed me today. He is coming back on. His email was, "Have we set this up yet?" I said, "No, dude. Not for lack of trying." I was like, "I've been trying." He's like, "Okay, all right, let's do it." So yeah, come back on. Voltron,
Absence of light.
Absence of the Light.
God.
There you
Dude,
go.
Kevin helped my
Sip into the darkness.
Kevin helped me, and we meant to tell this because he's so modest, right?
He is.
And he knows my PR person, Julie Lally.
That's ours.
Yeah, so
That's how we got connected. Obviously,
yeah,
we're telling something we know.
yeah,
I've heard
she's
of her.
phenomenal.
She's
dude.
the best. St. Louis
She's the
royalty.
best. Yeah, she knows everybody. She gets you everywhere. And it's like, and I remember actually William Roth, who's a good buddy of mine. He has the actor studio, and I'm like, dude, who do you use for PR? He goes like, I only use one person. It's Julie Lally. That's the one to talk to. So I talked to her, and then she's like, I called Kevin over at Four Hands and just go down there. He's gonna give you some beer, and he's the reason we raised over $750 for Stray Rescue STL.
Respect.
Yeah. Yeah,
Go
them-
Stray. Go Stray.
Yeah, so we sold all the alcohol we sold was from them, and then of course OTR, which is on the rocks. If you haven't had it, incredible. We did those, and all the money that we gained for the alcohol, we were able to raise for Stray Rescues STL. So
Dude, congrats. And
Yeah,
awesome.
dude.
What a team. I mean, an obvious
in-kind
team up-
donations, man. Like,
Oh,
That's
huge.
Four Hands is always stepping up like
Yeah,
that.
dude.
Like they just like they see whoever it is in the community and they're like, all right, like their growth is your growth. Like we went to the Moto Museum for Randy Knowles' cycle showcase this year.
Yeah.
And he does. It was like his 9th year doing it, and
The cycle shows, that guy's incredible.
Four Hands is one of their first sponsors ever,
Yeah.
and that was like the year Four Hands opened. I was like, they were brand new.
Yeah.
Like how we'll sponsor your event. Like, just good folks. Good.
Yeah, it's I actually met. He probably doesn't remember this, but I met him when he opened because his last name was Lemp, and I was just wondering.
Yeah.
Oh man, this is the connection too. He's
Yeah.
like not connected, right?
He's not. He
Yes.
is not, and I'm sure he gets asked that. He's like probably just rolls his eyes at this point and throws a beer at somebody.
Yeah.
Did you try some of the soccer player beers?
Yeah, the
Parker
Parker
Pills.
Pills.
Oh my
It's
God.
delicious.
The
And
Parker
I mean,
Pills,
and
dude.
I'm literally having a citywide pills right now,
Yeah.
which is it's no longer.
Yeah.
Like this, even though I've been getting it still at Schnucks, and I mean, it must be the last supply because they said that it's a limited run. Citywide pills is done. However, and on a light note, Citywide Light is
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's going to be the beer of
Well,
the summer. If you're
and-
drinking during the day,
yeah.
Citywide Light, it is crisp. I mean, this feels like a paid promotion. I'm working on that too, Kevin. I emailed you about that too. But for free, dude. Like, it's freaking
Yeah.
good. It's good
Yeah.
beer.
It's the fact that they could do City Pride and then tie in from that to City Pride was awesome for our LGBT community, and they did it right. They just did it right.
It looks so
Like,
good.
They didn't try to like make it about that. They just, hey, dude, here's your can.
Yeah.
And that's how advertisers won the market, man. It was like they just cared about people. They cared
Yeah.
about groups. They cared about what people were doing. And like I would say that Four Hands and who else is awesome and generous like that? I just think that a lot of these people understand how hard it is to start anything in this city.
Yeah.
It is so hard.
It's a
man.
long road. I mean, we just
Dude.
sat down with Steve at the Royale, and he gave his story about, they've been open 19 years.
Yeah.
But the road to that was years
Yeah.
of not just scoping out a place, but then like once you pick a place, years of figuring out how to make that even happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's we know too, we're young blood. Like we're like new
Yeah.
kids on the block. Like we've been here. Like, we all got different friends in different areas, and it becomes that like who you know. But it's really cool to see the local folks that step up and help anyone that's around. The like we're an indie folk. Like the 3 people you see here plus 2. That's who produces everything that comes out of here. So like
Yeah.
when people see that, I hope they remember that. Like, man, we're counting on not just the people that tune into the show, but local folks have always stepped up when they see like hard work
Yeah.
and high quality. They'll help you out if you show
Yeah, I
up and you
mean-
work hard and you show like that mutual respect. Like it might get you somewhere, and like I don't know, we're trying. We're
It's
trying.
important. I mean, I think people like we get so Tashara Jones, who I wasn't a huge fan of, really stepped up though. She did exactly what she said she was going to do. She dropped the crime in St. Louis. The soccer stadium, who my good friend Matt Seebeck, they did an incredible. I walked in that stadium, this is going to be junk. This is going to be trash. I don't even like soccer. And I was like, okay, I'm in. Where do I get my seat tickets?
Sold.
You know why? Because they did what Ballpark Village was supposed to do. They were supposed to bring in the local eats. And Matt Seebeck capitalized on that. I don't know if that was his decision, but that's a good buddy. We worked at Worldwide Technology together because my background is engineering like his is. So it's like, sorry, I have this medication that makes my eyes so dry. But
There's a cat down here sometimes.
no, I'm not allergic at all. I love all animals
Thank God.
except werewolves. Anyway, so type just rip it around.
I
buddy.
like it's good.
Yeah, so you have I don't know what it's called though. I think it's Farmer's something, but it's the burger place there.
Farm truck.
Yes,
Farm truck,
dude.
yeah.
Had the food. I've
My
had the farm truck
God,
food
man.
truck.
My
Everything
God,
there is
man.
so good. I
Like,
sold taco,
my buddy's like,
mean-
"It's $18 for a burger." I'm like, "Have you eaten it?"
Steve's hot dogs, Balkan Treat box. I can eat
Yes.
anything.
Have you
from
been to
those
Steve's new
3.
place?
Steve's
Meltdown?
Meltdown.
Yes.
Oh,
They were one of our first advertisers
I
on
did
the
see
show.
a nice tweet that they
I
had.
did
today
and
as
I
well.
and I have not had it yet.
Did you see their tweet today?
No. What'd they say?
Their ex
Oh.
post.
They represented us very well.
Are you serious?
yeah.
All right. Well, I
Go-
also
go
know.
for it. I'll bring it up.
Bring it up. I know that they're hiring too right now. Like Danny and Steve. They're the folks behind all these awesome places.
Yeah.
And they're hiring like a marketing part-time assistant. Like
Yeah.
I mean, you
Fun job.
Fun job. Like
Fun job.
you're pretty like in the job description. It was like
Yeah.
you're at the restaurants half the time, and then you're in an office setting sometimes. Like
Yeah.
that just sounds fun.
It does, and like just have a gym membership. And Steve Ewing can get you there, dude. I used to work out with him at City Fitness,
Oh God.
and he's
the dude.
He's so in shape. And it's funny. Before I moved to St. Louis, I was a ska fan. Like I knew the urge, And then finding out, like, my best friend Jeremy was an Urge fan. I was like, can you take me to a concert? I was like a child. Can you take me to a concert? And so I went to see him in, I think we went to where Shakespeare's Pizza. Is that Springfield, Columbia? I think it's Columbia. Where
Columbia.
Shakespeare's
Oh,
Pizza.
Yep. Oh,
So
yeah.
he showed me Shakespeare's Pizza, and we saw the Urge. And it was, dude, they are so awesome. They're
I'm so sorry
awesome.
that Scotty Scoops. We're all best friends now, just so you know. But Scotty Scoop, he's an Urge diehard.
Yeah.
All right. And I mean, I'm telling you, also you got some other shit in common too. But Steve came on the podcast. He came on the show.
Yeah, he's
and
great.
Just was the nicest guy in the world, and is busy. Well, Steve's Meltdown on X, formerly Twitter, at Steve's Meltdown. Happy to support Mostly Superheroes podcast. Catch their new episode, which every Star Wars enthusiast out there will appreciate. And it is our review of the Acolyte trailer and the tease of our Star Wars Timeline episode, which is going to be epic. Man, Steve's Meltdown saying thanks. Yeah, they were a sponsor on that podcast episode, and Steve is a massive Star Wars fan, and they do the Stormtrooper dog at the Steve's Hot Dog. So we're trying to do some collaboration on that, and dude, that was super sweet. Thanks, Ian.
That's awesome.
Yeah, give it up,
I'll
man. Steve's Meltdown at the City Foundry.
Oh, yeah.
I'll be eating
Sponsor of the show.
So much food in this city is so great.
I'll be
It
going
is.
there as soon as possible.
Have you been to Pastaria?
Yes,
No, I have not. Where is it?
Almighty. It's a niche restaurant. It's in Clayton.
it is so good.
It is ridiculous. I love
What do you
Katie's
get?
Pizza and Pasta. I'm very good. I get the
Is that the same owner?
No.
Oh, okay,
She's
sorry.
just as great. I love
Katie's
Katie.
Pizza,
I've known
lovely.
Katie forever. I've known Ted forever.
We brunched there yesterday.
Yeah, it's
2
so
days
good.
ago.
But Pastaria is I did basically the bolognese.
Okay.
They call it the Cittaria, I think.
I do a garganelli or something.
Yes, Garganelli.
Oh,
Yep.
it's so good.
Yeah, their food is.
They're on.
They did a
in Clayton.
baked gnocchi. I've never seen this done before. You guys say gnocchi. I say gnocchi because my dad was a chef. But
Dates at Noki.
yeah, gnocchi. You guys say gnocchi, which is fine. We just said gnocchi is like how we used to say it. But they do like a baked gnocchi, and it comes in like a skillet. It is the weirdest thing I've ever eaten, but it's also the best thing I've ever eaten. And their mushrooms are insane. They always have this incredible, like, the mushrooms were so good. My mother-in-law and my auntie Audrey now, because, I'm getting married, they wanted the pasta with the mushrooms, and they did it. They said, absolutely, we can do that. And that's what I love. That's Italian, right? We're going to give you what you love. That's, when you're here, your family. No, that's not.
Right. Pastaria.
Pastaria.
They're like, thanks for that.
Thanks.
Everybody wishes that was their slogan. Though. Everyone.
Best thing they ever did. And after that, nothing was good.
All right, Frankie, why don't we do final plugs, man?
Sure.
I got your Instagram pulled up here, the Haunted Garage. You can find yourself there. Where else should people be trying to find you? Yeah, congrats on all your downloads. looking
18
fresh.
episodes of 10,000 downloads. What?
That's insane. That's not our numbers are not that good. I mean, that's a lot of downloads for a little episodes.
I think the thing is that we've reached that car audience that likes the gear part.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when I was shopping advertisers for this episode, it was car dealerships, car wash places. I was like, gas stations might be kind of good.
Yeah.
But nobody was that interested. I was like, hey, no, listen, it's haunted cars. And then I got a couple. I was like, haunted cars. It can't just be. It's not just a car episode.
Yeah.
It's like that. That's what it is, man. That's that special little something.
Yeah. So
Like haunted cars. That's like we've talked about haunted places, and ghosts in your own house. But like vehicles, it's not something that you think of. Like cars can be haunted.
most haunted. The most haunted are cars.
Shit goes down in cars.
Yes. People die more times in their car than they do their house. They also put more energy and time into a car. How many times have you heard people say, I can't wait to grow up and buy my childhood home? It's never like that. It's I can't wait to grow up to have the car my dad had. I want that same car. If I can find that car, that'd be great.
Yeah.
And when they do, they just spend so much. I can't tell you how many hours I have in my Chevelle. I can't tell you how many weekends I spent in my Nova. Like, I love that car. It's part of who I am. It's part of who I am. And I think that, they might be haunted, but it's residual. And it's
residual. It's not like what you
Yeah,
talked about.
yeah.
It's like it sticks because
Yeah.
you're there. Like it's like you have different time in your car than you do anywhere else.
Yeah, and we get some beautiful stories sometimes from old timers, and they talk about, it was my dad's car, and sometimes I can just smell the Chesterfields. I can just smell the fresh opening of a pack of cigarettes, And he didn't smoke. But it's just that atom that comes through. It's like, man, Dad's here, It's so cool. It's not always malevolent and demons and shit. There's some cool ghosts out there that just, hey, dude, I really like being here. There's that. But yeah, so HauntedGarage.net.
Where else?
The Haunted Garage.
Yeah.
Instagram, I have a link tree now, which I learned how to do.
Yeah.
Very cool. And it basically can go through some of my articles that I'm writing on Medium right now. You can read all about Black Eyed Kids. I'm sorry for the Mothman effect. I accidentally put it behind a paid wall. I didn't mean to do that. I don't want to charge people for what I write. So I'm going to try to fix that. But
Nice.
yeah, Medium is. I'm actually writing a huge thing on William Lemp Sr. It'll be out tomorrow. I just want to clear his name. He was an incredible man, incredible businessman, the acumen of a gentleman, and just modest. And that's what the Lemp family were, except for Billy. But most of them were pretty that way.
Very cool. And I know you have the Lost Boys of Hannibal.
I do. I don't talk too much about the Lost Boys of Hannibal.
And we can cut this if you don't want it either.
No. Lost Boys of Hannibal it's actually an ongoing investigation. Is the reason why we don't talk about it.
Okay.
So I can't really add to it. I will let you know that major state organizations are involved in our case.
Okay.
We do believe we know where the boys are.
Okay.
And it's just a matter of we got to raise some funds to get to them.
Oh, wow.
So that's kind of where that case went. I mean, we went everywhere. I mean,
Okay.
that has over, I think, 400,000 downloads or something. It's crazy.
Yeah, true crime, dude.
Yeah.
We
stayed there and we stopped.
and the only reason I say
recording.
that is because, like, obviously true crime is big, but we work on this podcast. We're friends with a podcast that originated with a story down in Bonne Terre. The podcast is called Small Town Forgotten. It's about a 30-year-old murder, and it's produced by Blue Burn Productions. And they're also they have got the case reopened after 30 years. It was a completely cold case. The cousin of one of the producers is the one that got murdered.
Okay.
And he also has two twin daughters, actually. And
Is this the one where they found her in the woods outside and I think she was sexual assault?
this one, no, I think this
Wasn't a head thing?
No, it was a head thing, but it's
Okay.
the man who got killed.
Okay.
It's a man.
Oh, I'm
yes.
thinking it's something totally
Jimmy
different.
Wayne Martin got killed outside after a night at a bar in town in Bonne Terre, which is about an hour south of here in St. Louis.
Yep.
And Sean Martin over there started a podcast with host Chris Holsey, who brings in facts from the case, talks to the daughters of the man, Jimmy, who was killed all those years ago, and the case was completely cold from day one. A couple suspects, but kind of fell quiet. And this podcast, smalltownforgotten.com, is where you got to check it out.
Why don't you get in touch with him? Me and Chris will have him on Lost Boys of Hannibal, and we'll talk about this case so we can get him more subscribers.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Give it up
that's
for
a
that.
great case.
Thank you. Chris, the host. Chris would love to come on. They might be able to bring
I have
in
a Chris too. So
You have a
two
Chris.
Chris's. Yeah,
They might be able to
Chris
grab the
Cutters.
twins, maybe one of the twins.
Yeah.
Or maybe just Chris. Dude, that's really nice. Really appreciate that. Because,
Yeah.
you guys obviously talking about the same kind of stuff and could be some collaboration,
Yeah.
but just
Well,
help
my case is
in
in
this.
Hannibal.
And it's also trying to solve these cases.
Yeah.
It's not just, we appreciate all our subscribers. We're trying to give back where we can, and promoting messages like this will help have some impact. But you guys are, you have a real mission to bring some closure.
Actually
to some,
doing something.
yeah, and bring
Yeah.
some closure to people that are like, I need this to be over.
And they're
I can
right.
tell you, these twins, they're like, we need this to be over.
Yeah. They're right there with us, too. I mean, when you start, and I'm sure Chris is there, too. He's on his 12th episode I just read. You start embedding yourself in that family. You start becoming a family member. And you start wondering, when are we going to solve this? And you get really embedded into it, and it's kind of good to have a conversation about, true crime is just that. And, every sheriff we've met from Rawls County to Marion County, the Hannibal chief of police listens to our podcast. They have been nothing but kind. They have been nothing but open. They have been nothing but helpful. They call us sometimes like, hey, man, can you bring your forensic people up? I'm like, absolutely. And that's
Wow.
what we can share with them. We can share with them our forensic team. I mean, Kaylee and Jesse, they
could use some help. I think they need some
yeah.
buzz. It's the same thing. It's like the things are in motion. Law enforcement is involved, and it's kind of been told this is a podcast that had 10 episodes, maybe 12 episodes, and it's in the middle of it. They're hoping that the next few episodes can bring it to a close, but better than anybody. It's just about time and effort.
So they have a body in their case, which is half the
Wow.
half the mission, right? So
Wow.
the thing is that 30 years is dangerous. 30 years, people are still alive.
Mm-hmm.
And when anytime anybody, and that's what I would tell people, when you undertake this type of stuff, man, I can't tell you how many phone calls we got to stay away from the Hannibal case and stay
I
away
bet.
from those boys.
They've seen a lot of that too.
Especially because they live there, and
It's super close. It's literally close to home.
yeah, it's a very courageous thing to do. So
Yeah, you open that
any
door.
way we can help them, we will start getting them on the show because I believe our listeners love the local stuff. I mean, Netflix is trying to come in here and eat up every true crime there is, and they always do it in an okay way. Like,
Yeah.
can you tell both sides? Like the Stephen Avery case was a disaster. When you watch Candace Owens one, man, she opens your eyes. It's like, oh my God, I really thought this guy was innocent. But yeah, they destroyed the cops. The cops are like, what are you talking about, dude? Like his DNA is right there. Like, what am I supposed to do?
Oh my God.
So with Bon Terre, I mean, like the thing that like we always did that made it successful in Lost Boys of Hannibal was before we did anything, we contacted local law enforcement and we got on their good side and we took them out to lunch and we brought the family to local law enforcement. And Brad Stinston, who is the sheriff of Ross County, is the most gentle and amazing man that I've ever met in my life. That was the stuff that we did together. We dug up an entire football field on private property, which was owned by the Continental Cement Company. The fact that the HR department's right here in St. Louis, they heard it was the case. She calls me. She's like, this is Continental Cement Company. What do you guys want to do? I said, listen, somebody thinks that the boys are buried in this part. They really do believe he was killed by John Wayne Gacy, and they buried the boys here. And the family really just wants closure from this area. And I know you guys have been getting, since that stupid book came out, you guys have been getting break-ins, trespassing, people getting injured on your property. If we alleviate this, if we do this with you, and we just tell everybody there's nothing there, they're not going to come anymore. And she's like, all right, take down the one episode where it mentions our name, and I will call them. And as long as the sheriff's okay with it, we will do it for you. And she goes, as an extra added bonus, I can't have anybody come on the property. It has to be our people. So all the union that was there dug up the property for us. They were all employees of the cement company.
Oh my
And
gosh.
we dug up a football field. We have it all on footage. It's all filmed. That's where I met Kaylee and Jesse, who are now, they graduated now. They're all anthropologists. And Sarah, too, Sarah Baumgarten, another one, amazing. Her and her wife, amazing job doing all the forensics. And they are all out of Washington University. They're all out of Carbondale, SIU. And now Jesse and Kaylee are basically the top anthropologists. So when you're doing digs in any kind of Native American land, they got to send those two girls out first and make sure that you're not disturbing something. So that could be a good help for the Bon Terre people to just have those. We actually have Jan with the dogs in case they need to do that. But
Yeah.
in that case, I mean, they have a body, but like that gets dangerous because it's like, man, who did this, right? Who would do it?
Dude,
You
yeah.
know?
I can promise you if Sean and Chris and Vanessa and the team are listening right now, they're just frantically writing notes. And I know that they've also done a lot of what you've mentioned too, you know, like kudos to them. Like they have been working hand in hand. I know they've had a lot of those visits like you mentioned.
Yeah.
So
anything we can do, any content we have. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean your reach and just like your knowledge.
Yeah.
Your knowledge on it. So I appreciate that. That's
Yeah.
Lost Boys of Hannibal. You can follow them on Instagram. And like whenever more happens, I mean you'll be coming back with it, of course.
Yeah.
Like when there's something to say. As it should be.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'd love to give you guys the exclusive if we find anything.
Right. Yeah, that was my way of sneaking it in there. Like,
Yeah.
you'll call us.
Yeah, we will. I mean, it's gonna be it was a touching day when we did the dig at the Continental Cement Company, and we ended up with nothing. About 6 months later, they did find a skull, which was crazy, and it actually was in a shoebox. And the story goes that in 1968, a couple was honeymooning in the area, but they lived in the area, so it was like a staycation. And they found a human skull, and they decided to keep it, which is a felony. Please don't do that. You can't really keep human remains. You shouldn't even keep your teeth. But anyway, so technically, I think that's okay. But whatever. If your body parts fall off, you can keep them. I don't know. I don't know what the law is, but maybe it's in that. But so they pick up this skull and they keep it under this person's bed. Well, long story short, she gets dementia. She goes in the hospice. The kids are cleaning out the room. They found this shoebox with a human skull in it. And they bring it over to the sheriff, Brad Stinson. Brad calls me, and he's like, I got a skull, dude. I'm like, what do you mean you got a skull? He's like, I don't know, but get Sarah up here. So me and Sarah Baumgarten get up there, and she's looking, and she's just so brilliant. She's looking at it, she's like, flips it over, and she's like, well, this was exposed heavily. There's not a lot I can do with this. I can tell you that it's female. I could probably tell you that I'm thinking African-American, and I'm thinking maybe 1930s. But she still has to go. It's insane to me how smart they are. It's like,
impressive.
What do you mean? Yeah. There's no carbon dating. She didn't go
Yeah,
in there.
I'm like, oh, a skull.
Yeah, right. Is that even a skull? She's like, yeah,
Right.
if you lick it,
like
you'll.
it.
Oh, if you
Like, I'm going to
I'm
do
like,
that.
it's a toy. It's
But
an
they
old
do.
toy.
They lick rocks. Like, these guys are in the field, and if something looks like a bone, they'll put their tongue to it. And if it's porous, it's bone. If it's smooth, it's a rock. It's just insane group of people we worked with. They were so cool. And it was just insane to be there. I mean, like, and it was an adventure, but at the same time, like they understood what they were looking for little
real.
boys. We were looking for,
This is crazy shit right now.
11, 13, and 14-year-olds. So at the end of the day, if we now know like where we think they are, if they are, at least there's going to be preservation. There's going to be something of them.
Mm-hmm.
We do know that. That's a little comforting. So we have a place for them. We have a burial for them. Any money that we raise outside of what we need to drill, we're going to put toward a tomb for them. They're not even buried in the cemetery yet. The family refused to do it until they found them.
Oh wow! Yeah,
So
like,
we wanna
talk
help
about like
them.
again. They need this over. They need
Yes.
to like get this
It's
closure.
the closure thing, man. And
That's all it
I
is.
get what they're talking about, especially family. The 30 years. It's like,
Yep.
Yeah. So
Well, kudos on you, man. You got a lot going on. Franki Cambeletta, like many shows, and you're talking about a lot of stuff, and you're diving deep into it, which is, I mean, that's good. I mean, it's like that's what that niche. That's what makes podcasts successful, I think.
does.
So I think you're gonna be just fine. I mean, you've got the fellowship and the topics, and I'll be coming back for more.
Sure. We're doing the Lord's work. That's what my Jeremy always says, even though he's not.
I would say your partner says that.
Yeah. Yeah. He'll see people on the side of the road, like taking a shit on the side of the road. He's like, he's doing the Lord's
Doing
work.
the Lord's work.
That's what I'm saying. Like having him, when you're in a room with him, when you guys come on, okay, come on our show.
Oh, thank you.
And you come
We'd
up
love
there
to.
and see our space and stuff, and you'll see the other side. That's the 180. That's Haunted Garage. Frankie's more of
Yeah.
a serious type of like skeptic, and Jeremy's like, I've seen everything. I've seen demons crawl up walls before. I'm like, I think you were high. You do a lot of edibles. You're at 35. He did a 35 the other day.
Oh man,
I lost him to the couch, man. He was couch locked for days. Son.
Well, I say this every time someone's on the pod for the first time. Like it's always like this. It's kind of like a Joe Rogan episode where it's like very open ended, very introductory. Like
Yeah.
you know what I mean. We cover a wide array. So would love to have you back on our show again.
Yeah.
You know, you can hear like if you listen to our show, go to it. Like we've changed our format a little bit to where like we're very topical. You could have a 5-minute episode, you could have an hour episode. But it's one thing, and we like to get into it and get nerdy. And now that we've met you, we've got to know you.
Yeah.
We could have you in here, and we could talk about 10 things, and that kind of ends up, being kind of like a little mini episodes where we can get into like one specific story or something. But like we like to do it this way, though. I like to have the fire hydrant approach on the first go. Like just give me everything. I feel like I got like a well-rounded picture of like the stuff you have going on. And thanks again for coming in.
Yeah, we'll do Mothman next time, man. We'll just. Because the bridge went down. We were just talking about this.
The bridge went down.
And like that's a big one right there. So.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys next time. Sam the Sleeper, the Giggler, Franki Cambeletta. I'm Logan. That's Mostly Superheroes. Mostly Superheroes is proud to be funded in part by our sponsors. Mostly Superheroes is funded in part by paying patrons who receive early, ad-free, and exclusive episodes. Subscribe at mostlysuperheroes.com/support. Thank you for supporting your favorite independent podcast. Mostly Superheroes is an independent podcast owned and operated by Kerrigan Ventures in St. Louis, Missouri. Hosted by Logan Janis, Andy Hunn, and Scott Swearingen. Brand and creative by Carrie Clark Design. Music by Audionautics. Learn more at audionautics.com. Find more at mostlysuperheroes.com.